Oh, it's so nice when things just work immediately. That's good. Why did that say 204? Did I not change the Oh god. Did I not change the I didn't. It's annoying. Fixing it. Could be fixed. I guess. Yes. Alright, we're good. Guess I should have realized when I was looking at the fucking Discord that that was the case, but of course I did not, because I've been gaming all day. Oh wait, no, that's correct. What the fuck? Oh, maybe it's just because I just changed it. I don't know. Anyway, hello out there. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I don't know where Aiden is, but you know. Hello from the man stuck building a cabinet. Hey, Draco Kraken. Hello, Timothy. I see you there too. Stuck building a cabinet? I'm sorry, I guess. Apologies, I'm boiling water again. Might as well do it early. Oh, it won't take too long, hopefully. Because it's not as much water. But, you know. Hello there, Dave. Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope everything is going alright. You know how it is, someone else orders the cabinet and I get to build it. I knew those days. Yes. Good, you? I'm doing all right. I've been having a good time. I literally last night bought, or not last night. I didn't buy this last night. During the sale on Steam, um I bought Dredge. I don't know if I mean everybody's probably known about this game for a while now. But I bought Dredge and I played it for like 40 minutes last night, finally. And because I've been meaning to play it and buy it and play it and everything, right? Played it for about 40 minutes last night. Went, "Ooh, this is really good." And then I woke up this morning and I just played it for the entire day. Um and I finished the main game. Not 100%, but I finished the main game all after playing it for uh I don't even know how long I played it all day, so probably like 10 hours, 8 hours, I don't know. Um really good game. I'm having a great time. I bought the DLC for it. Eldritch Fishing, indeed. Fishing is like one of those things that's really fun to me because it's one of those mundane tasks in video games, you know? And I enjoy mundane tasks in video games. But hello everybody and welcome back to Table Talk Discussion and Discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Great95, and I don't know where Aiden is, but I know Boo will be joining us when he gets home from work, which, he works until 9, which is now, at least for our end of the US. So he should be here in like a half hour or so. So that's good. Fishing in games is pretty cool. Usually, yeah. Fishing in Nier Automata is great. You can just enjoy the view. True. I've not played Nier yet. Nier Automata. I need that game as well. There's a lot of games that are still on my list, but I have too many to go through. So someday. But yeah, Dredge is just pure fishing and eldritch horrors. And it was really it's a really fun game, and I'm glad that I got the DLC now that I've finished the full game. I started playing that, and I'm having a good time. It's just more of the same game, really. And I'm like, yeah, more of this is good. So, highly recommend Dredge, just like everybody else who's played it, really. I need a definition of view when it comes to Nier. No, don't worry about it. It's fine. Dredge is on my wish list, maybe after I'm bored with Transformers Devastation. I saw that you were playing that. I don't know Transformers Devastation. I know the War for Cybertron and all that. I have those games and I never finished them. I assume Devastation is pretty good too. Transformers. Oh my goodness. Galactic Trials? Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Transformers Nope. I can't find it. Okay. Devastation? Nope. Devastation? Probably? Oh, okay. I don't know. It's not showing up for me when I'm searching on Steam, so. Either way. Activision's last Transformer game no longer available digitally due to weird rights issues. Oh! Yeah. Okay. That was probably the last one in the trilogy. I only have the first two. Okay. Yeah. Well, I hope it's good. But yeah, highly recommend Dredge. I literally, like I said, I've played it all day. And then for the last few hours before the show, I had some stuff in the background, watching that and listening to it, and playing Dredge. It's a good game for that too, if that is appealing to you. Otherwise, it's just as appealing when I pay full attention to it, and I did for a majority of it. Anyway, let's talk about TTRPG stuff. Because today is not a video game day, unfortunately. But, oh, excuse me, goodness. We are going to be talking about a couple of topics today, being random encounters and dungeons. That's going to be here today. Love? No. Hey, Shin. Hey, Verity. I'm waiting for entropy. Hold on. Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh my goodness. Anyway. But yes, so, we're going to be talking about, random encounter tables, I assume. And then the second video is in defense of dungeons. So, yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go, entropy. Looking for a new PFP. Understood. Anyway. So, I was doing my business, right? Be funny for one of them not to show up. It would be. It would be concerning. I was doing my usual of going around the internet not long ago and then saying, huh, that looks like an interesting topic. Huh, that looks like an interesting topic. Hopefully that's a good video. Because, you know, that's always the goal, is to find a good discussionable video, not necessarily a bad discussionable video. Discussionable? Is that even a word? Doubt it. Let me find out. Discussionable. Nope. Not a word. Discussable. That's the word. Hey. Anyway. So. Yeah. I was going around and we talked about one of the videos from Red Ragged Fiend during the 24-hour stream. And it was on Oh god, it's hard to remember things from that day, but it was on better to just look it up at this point. Because I cannot remember, but it's one of those that I was getting very tired at the point that we were at. Right, it's not there. It would be in here. I have to go through the live stuff, and it was during part 2. It was the stat D&D Forgotten, how it's key to better combat encounters. That's right. Okay. Which was talking about morale, right? Having something like that as a stat, a physical stat in D&D or something. And while I was finding those kinds of videos, I also found this one, which is called... Let me make sure that it comes up when I switch to the thing. There it is. Cool. This video is called How Answering One Question. This is not within ratio of... What the fuck happened with my... Okay. Well, that's not right. How answering one question made me fall in love with random encounters as a dungeon master. D&D is what this is called. Now I'm hoping that I can learn a little bit about something that would make me want to sorry, I'm going to be adjusting this for a second. Something that would make me want to utilize random encounter tables again, because at this point, at least in my dungeon mastering, I don't necessarily use them at all, really, anymore. I used to, for sure, when I was newer. When I was newer to the hobby, it was really helpful, at least in the beginning, to just look up an encounter if I needed something. Slash build something around a random encounter, in the sense that if I rolled something out on the table, then I could go into looking that up and being like, okay, this is what this is, hopefully this works, you know, all that kind of stuff. Discussionable could be an in-joke just for the show. No, that's alright. I mean, I'm not going to stop you if you do, but it's not for me. This one question will make you love random encounters. DMs hate it, right? Exactly. Purple blinds over green screen, kind of liking that. Yeah. When we covered Red Ragged Fiend, excuse me, as I get my trash bag so I can put my tea bags into it. When we discussed Red Ragged Fiend's other video, we ended it early because at the time there was really nothing left for us to really talk about the morale system that he was putting into place. It seemed very much for beginners, and seemed like it was something that we couldn't really comment on any more than that, you know? It's and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that we didn't feel like we had anything more to say, right? And that happens on occasion. So, this time around, this is something that might garner more response to it, because like I said, I used random encounters before, but these days I don't like the idea of utilizing the random encounter tables, because they're a little inconsistent in enemy types and such. I'd rather figure it out on my own, right? So again, if you utilize it in a way that's like for prep work, in terms of potentially creating a narrative through those kinds of combats that might come up, slash creating adversaries that might not be a combat encounter, but may still like have the stats in case the players decide that it will be a combat encounter. That's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't see. I would rather come up with it in my head now and fit it to the campaign rather than roll it out and fit it in that way, I guess. But either way is fine, right? But yeah, purple blinds over the green screen is pretty good. I liked the aesthetic. Don't have any issue with the last video that we covered from the guy, so hopefully not a big issue here either. DM, random encounter, pulls a monster out of his hat. Indeed. I remember it being kind of a morale good, and the response being, yep, yes. Think I missed the morale video or forgot. It was part of the second part of the 24-hour stream. It's near the end after Gara Bingo. So, I believe. See, yeah, it was. Anyway. I think that we're just going to get started, hey? So here we go. Oh! Hello! How's it going?
Hello. Well, do you hear me?
Yes, hello, I hear you. Do you hear me?
I do.
Okay, good. I said, how's it going?
Oh, yeah, pretty good.
Good.
I guess the mic didn't pick it up.
Oh, okay.
What are we talking about today?
Well, you came in at a perfect time. Haven't started yet. First off, we're going to be talking about it's a video from Red Ragged Fiend, if you remember, the guy that we covered about the morale system that we kind of had to stop after a while because we didn't have much more to say. Yep.
Yes.
Which is fine, right?
Yeah, no, it was good to have another
exactly
YouTube video.
And we also figured, oh yeah, this is really a beginner friendly video, and we have nothing more that because we're kind of past that. This one is talking about random encounters.
Okay.
So it says how answering one question made me fall in love with random encounters as a dungeon master D&D. There's the chat for you, of course.
Thank you. I was just coming to snag that.
There you go.
Hello, everybody.
But yeah, so fell asleep during part 2. That's why I don't remember. Fair. So yeah, I'm hoping for another, at least, acceptable video. You know, I hope that it has more things to discuss in it because again, random encounters are something that, like, they're a good tool, I think, but it's something that I don't rely on anymore. You know.
Yeah. So I'm not a big fan of random encounters.
Yep.
Precisely because the random nature of and I remember we talked about this before, but the random nature of tables of oh, here's 100 options.
Yes.
36 of which may actually be thematic, but everything else is just kind of you encounter some goblins in the middle of a forest in a well settled nation, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
I don't really like how a lot of the stuff on the random encounter tables feels. It feels better to just look at a random encounter table as a list of me as a DM going, they should have an encounter here. What looks good?
Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying a little bit before here, utilizing it to get inspiration, utilizing it to perhaps craft around if you want to, before going into the actual game or anything or using it as something that you have to put effort into it if you're going to utilize it as it is presented, because like you said, a lot of the time it doesn't feel appropriate. the random encounter that you might roll. So but you can fit it in if you put in the effort. Whether or not it feels contrived is, up to how it is received, I suppose. But I think that anybody can really buckle down and go like, oh yeah, so goblins are in a, like you were saying, goblins are in a well-populated area. Why is that? Oh, well, maybe there's a goblin resistance in a way, right? They're trying to go through and steal things and trying to survive and scrape by and trying to destabilize things in that way, so that they can have a future invasion come through or something like that. Or
guerrilla goblins, I like it.
Yeah, right? Just, throw something, yeah, plausibility veto. Yeah, exactly, right? So, yeah, you just need to put some effort in. That's all. And I think anything can work. But again, if you're very new to the hobby, you won't have that experience necessarily, and utilizing it as is fine, but it will make things feel at least a little out of place, like you said. Anyway. Oh, Boo is typing. Good.
Dude, the bottom, like, it's not really a serif, I don't really know what to call it, but like the bottom hook of the C is jutting out ever so slightly.
Yeah.
And it's bugging me.
The bottom serif of the C. For where?
Yeah. Random encounters. Word encounters, the third letter.
Yeah. How is it?
What do you what?
Oh, are you looking at the thumbnail?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at the video itself. I don't see the thumbnail. That's why. Okay.
Sorry. Hold on.
Yeah. Let me see.
Second. There we go.
Ah, thank you. Oh yeah, that is weird. I'll show that. That's very strange. This looks very strange.
Yeah, because I'm not like the owner of the room.
Yeah, you
until
see
the video actually starts, I'm seeing the thumbnail.
I wish that happened for me. That would be really nice. I want to see the thumbnails sometimes. Anyway.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So Boo is not going to be joining us tonight, everybody. He's completely wiped from work, which is absolutely fair. So, that is a thing. But anyway. Plus it can't really be fully random because it needs to be balanced. Yeah, nothing is fully random. Nothing is truly random, let's be fair. The goblin spawner appeared near the town via glitch, and your players now know they are in a simulation. Oh, there you go. Like a computer RPG where you aren't on the terrain you thought you were on. Yes, exactly. If it was truly random, a beholder could attack a level 1 party. Yes. Very true.
Why stop at a beholder?
The Tarask. I see you.
Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, let us begin.
So, random encounters, for me, kind of addresses these very specific issues, which is sort of like player stalling in a session, over resting that sort of 15-minute workday, when they're getting sort of ahead of the prep, or they're kind of getting off, not necessarily off the rails in a railroading sense, but I have prepped, A, B, and C, and they have made a hard right turn, and they are heading afield. They are exiting the quest zone, if we want to. I mean, I could...
Okay. Let's break that down one at a time, because I'm... Oh, hold on.
So, random encounters, for me, kind of addresses these very specific issues, which is sort of like player stalling in a session.
Okay, random encounters addressing player stalling. How, I guess... Yeah, okay.
Of the points he lists, I think wanting to avoid players stalling is like the one I most like.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing D&D with your friends and then like nothing happens. That, like, how to put this? I'm okay with a friend group just meeting and, like, hanging out.
Yes.
And, like, everyone grabbing dinner and, like, just sort of shooting the shit.
Yeah.
And not even playing D&D that week, but just, like, kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
I think that that's perfectly fine. However, I think that if you are playing D&D, then you should roll some dice.
Mm.
And I'm not a big fan of, like, as a DM, if I notice, like, wow, nothing's happening. This scene has been going on forever. And they're just walking on an unoccupied road.
Right.
There is no threat. Like, I'll go, hey, you know what? Like, let's spice things up a little bit. Players stalling, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is he, like, saying, okay, so, like, you know how typically you give people, like, round timers or some
Yes.
DM?
Yeah.
I feel he's kind of doing that. Like, he's saying, oh, too late, you spent too long hemming and hawing about which quest lead you should follow.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Goblins attack, roll initiative.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling as well, and it doesn't feel good. Yeah, I understand throwing an encounter at players when nothing is happening, whether that be social or combative or just something that is just interesting, like an exploration of something, right? That I feel is totally fine. That's valid. You know, we've all done it. It makes sense. Because everybody is, like you said, walking down the unoccupied road. And, like, they're like, I don't know what's going on, really, but hey, we're going to point B, I guess? I don't know. And so you throw something at them to spice it up, as you said. But yeah, with this, I guess it's either they're intentionally, like, waiting, or they are not making a quick enough decision about the choices that are in front of them. But I don't think that should be rewarded, or I guess punished, really, with oh, you have a fight now. Because it should really just be the DM going, all right, guys, so I need a decision now. We have been here for like an hour. Hopefully not that long, but you know.
We come back to the justifications for the DMPC.
Yes, that is true.
Of like, the DMPC can say, all right, so, like, what are we actually doing, though?
Yes.
Or something like that. And then that can be a hint to the players of, like, come on, move it along, guys.
Exactly. It's an in-universe excuse for the DM to say, guys, we gotta go. Like, this is taking too long.
Because, like, you can't have every single one of your quests be time sensitive.
No.
That's ridiculous.
Yes, I agree. It's nice to
do, but I find it similarly ridiculous for, like, the Looney Tunes thing of there's a light pole and then the wolf steps out from behind it.
Yes. Yeah. Wile E. Coyote just goes, I'm here now.
Yes, Wile E. Coyote, yes.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Just one light pole, barren landscape, and then Wile E. Coyote, like, yo, what's up, guys?
Here to fight you now. Hey, what's up? Yes, I agree. Let's see. Players stalling in a town and not committing war crimes. What's that like? True.
I mean, I could get really ACAB and, like, roll a random encounter for a few guards.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
If you want me to, like, dump my political opinions on you, but nah.
I just noticed how the stream title has no period, and I read love by itself. Oh, what? Oh, for the stream itself. What did I even put? Oh, yeah. Because the ampersand makes it a conjoined thing, but with no period. True. Or comma.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Mhm.
the title of this show, the episode.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's how the D&D cartoon started. Welcome to the realm. Here's Tiamat, by the way. Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
is
dude,
true.
I remember that.
Oh, I forgot. Sounds like I read the cartoon. Fair enough. To be fair, I do like the idea of random encounters street folks. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily like when we're talking about random encounters here. I think we're talking about purely fighting, right?
Yeah, combat encounters.
Yeah, exactly. Which is fine.
A random encounter is just that, a random encounter.
Yes.
It can be solved via roleplay or combat.
I think
I remember Miles had city random encounters and like wild combat encounters.
Yeah. I think they
Or random encounters rather, and wild combat encounters.
Yeah. I think that they had different types of encounter tables in 3.5 for those specific areas. I don't remember entirely, but so I could be wrong about that. But it would make sense to me because 3.5 had tables for everything. But role for relationship, indeed.
Did you just make a brand new art? I was actually going to respond to that. Like, did you just make a brand new TTRPG?
That is a good name for it.
And will I buy it? The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
I need to see a bard running to school with a piece of toast in their mouth.
God damn it. I think that we should normalize the word encounter being used as more than combat encounters. I really think that should be something that we do as experienced DMs and also for the inexperienced, I suppose, because yes, D&D has the combat aspect, but I feel like having more of a focus on the ability to do things that are not combat is probably better, in the sense of getting everybody to experience at least the full gamut of what D&D or any TTRPG can do, and really enforcing that with encounters mean more than just combat is probably going to push that in the direction. And I don't know, to be fair, if this is done through a lot of channels, but I hope that it is. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Important to keep in mind that an encounter does not equal an engage.
Yes. So that was point one.
Oh, dude, that was the first quarter of point one.
True. And I've always wanted an anime high school college TTRPG whether that be shonen or shoujo. Ooh, there you go.
I am kind of tired out of like the tournament arc or like the My Hero. Well, I suppose My Hero Academia is Japanese high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having the characters be older would definitely be interesting. I know actually. Oh fuck, what's that shitty power level? Solo leveling. God, that anime is trash. However, one of the things that initially drew me to it was the fact that it had like an older protagonist. Like the guy's like 28, I think.
Oh wow! Hey, there you go.
Cool. Yeah, no, like he is a full ass like adult.
That's nice. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah, and I was like, oh wow, how unique! Oh wow, and you know what? The dungeons seem pretty cool. Yeah. Maybe this show is worthwhile. And then I encountered the writing.
Happens, yeah. Happens a lot. I'm sure there's a Big Eyes Small Mouth supplement for that. Maybe, yeah, actually. Anyway, let's see what the second point or second part of this is.
Over resting, that sort of 15-minute workday.
Over resting, so instead of having them being able to rest all the time, throwing something at them so that they are interrupted with it, which I think that you can have that be a tone in your game, just in your presentation of the like environment and everything, and how you like describe how the things go. The ability to take a short rest is something that you should be able to like hint at with, yeah, let's say they're in a dungeon, like a cave or something, right? I mean, you can allow them to do whatever they want, and they can prep for it however they want, but you can give them a little bit of a hint of like, yeah, so you've gone through this cave quite a lot, and from the, I guess, like sounds that you can hear, it seems like you've cleared out at least a majority of whatever might be living in here. You know, like, it doesn't seem like you, after like maybe a few minutes of just listening, you don't hear the scurrying of animal, or actually no, it'd be better to hear the scurrying of small animals, because they would be more likely to be around when predators and such are not around, you know?
Yeah, it's like when you're in the forest and you hear bird song.
Exactly. So give them like clues with your descriptions of places to try to make it feel like it's safe. And thus you can then subvert that expectation here and there if you wish. But it is something that you can utilize to really make that more of a reality, rather than throwing an encounter at them when they do it too much. Let's just nip the problem in the bud a little bit more than throwing a random table at the as a solution at the I guess the problem.
So my point actually has completely reversed in opinion since when I heard him say the sentence.
Okay.
Because when it started out, I heard him say overresting.
Yeah.
And when I hear that as a DM, what that translates to is spending resources.
Okay.
Oh wait, no. Sorry, I'm so used to Baldur's Gate 3 where short rests are limited per day. Never mind. However, I will actually I'll, I guess, modify the point I was going to make by saying that having a percentage that you roll as a DM of like, oh, they're in a relatively safe area. There's maybe a 2% chance for a random combat encounter, and maybe 15% for just like talking to people. They're on a city street.
Sure.
Just like coming up with percentages like in your head as the DM on the fly of like, hey, you know what? They're taking a short rest in this area. What happens? And then you roll to just to kind of get the creative juices flowing.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm a pretty big fan of that. I think that can help make your world feel more lived in.
Yeah.
And when it comes to over-resting in a dungeon, though, I do also really like the tone setting of, like, we are actively in danger here.
Yes.
Let's get in, get our shit, get out. Because every moment that we spend here is just, like, waiting for things to go wrong.
Exactly. Right. Oh, go on, sorry.
I was gonna say, so like if the party is, for instance, clearing out a dungeon full of goblins, goblins are gonna be a theme tonight.
Probably,
I think.
Yeah.
So if the party is learns of like a clan of goblins,
yes,
resting in some like outskirts of a kingdom,
yeah,
and they go through and they start clearing it out. And they take lots of short rests while they're in that dungeon. There may be like a 30 or a 40% chance to like, hey, goblins showed up, and you don't get your long rest.
Yeah.
Do you want to roll and try to long rest again? I will roll another 40% check.
Mhm.
And it sort of encourages players to like keep it moving, keep it rolling.
Exactly. Yeah. It's less to do with a random encounter table rather than just assessing the situation. Really.
Yeah, it's a way of establishing that a scene has danger to it.
Yes, I agree.
When they're getting sort of ahead of the prep,
When they're getting ahead of the oh, hold on.
or they're kind of getting off, not necessarily off the rails in a railroading sense, but I have prepped, A, B, and C, and they have made a hard right turn, and they are heading afield. They are exiting the quest zone.
Okay. So, utilizing it as a way to kind of have a stopgap, I guess, when you're not prepared for what they're doing, because they've taken a completely different a turn than you had assumed.
Would you mind if I take the lead on this?
Yes,
I have thoughts.
Absolutely. Go on.
I just need to hear it said again.
Yes, please. Go on.
Oh fuck. There we go. That'll work.
Not necessarily off the rails in a railroading sense, but I have prepped, A, B, and C, and they have made a hard right turn, and they are heading afield. They are exiting the quest zone, if we want to.
Okay. So, I talked to my players, or I talked to all of my players actually in all of my campaigns, like before even session 0.
Yep.
And I say, hey guys, I have gone through the effort of creating a world.
Yes.
Precisely because I don't want you guys to have a series of quests as like a campaign. I want to have a world where like you can say, you know what, I don't give a fuck about the main quest. I'm cutting due north.
Exactly.
And if none of my players have ever taken me up on that, whether that means I have nice players or I make interesting quests, it's probably some mixture of the two. However, I have I'm always like itching and waiting for like players to just say, you know what, nah, North time. And definitely if my players were to take me up on my like due north offer, I would need to stall for time.
Yes.
Like as a creative, I would just need to plot out like the next 60 miles in every direction.
Sure.
And to do that, I need time.
Yes.
You know what takes up a lot of time in D&D?
Combat.
Yeah. I can throw some random wolves at these guys. Like wolves live in the forest. The fuck it makes sense within the setting of the world, instead of a gold dragon wormling.
Yes. I would say so. Yes.
I can throw some like 3 or 4 like regular wolves, juice up the AC of a alpha wolf by like 2 or 3, and its hit points by like 20, and this will serve as a functional stopgap for my level 2 party.
Right.
Like just so that I can like get time. I don't particularly care for the idea that players have to be heading to a quest or they get random encounters. I typically, when I am developing session, I say, okay, I drop a pin in where the players are on the map, and then I develop stuff around that.
Sure.
That's just part of session prep for me.
Yep.
So if they were to cut north and ignore the quest, there still will be content for a while.
Yes.
but like once you run out of that, that's when I start having to generate stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
What are your 2 cents?
So, I'm with you in the I've made my world, right? I know what's happening. I'll take vampire as a thing right now. We are if you don't know, we're doing a vampire game. Vampire the Masquerade. And I have set it in Las Vegas. I am doing stuff on the fly a lot of the time sometimes. Because they are going in certain directions, or they want to do this or that, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair. Do whatever you want. I've made this in such a way, and that's usually my style, is I make things in a sandbox, because I just find it to be a lot more organic, and I do a little bit of prep here and there, for things that I think might come up during the session, but if they don't, then I am usually Googling things on the fly and such, here and there. But if I needed to, I would like to, and I know this would work for us, but it might not work for everybody, but I would like to make the normalization of saying, hey guys, we've said this many a time, hey guys, okay, I don't have things prepped for this necessarily. And at the moment, I would like to prep a little bit for it so that you guys just don't go and have me going by the seat of my pants, and make it so that it's less coherent and such, potentially. So I'm going to take a few minutes, sorry, but I need to, because I want this to be like a good experience. So give me a few minutes and then we can get right back to the game. That's something that I think we should also normalize, as well as the encounters definition, really. Because yes, we're all here to play the game. Yes, we're all here to, spend the time to play the game or hang out or whatever, right? And it might not feel great to not be playing the game during the time if it is limited, but at the same time, it is supposed to be fun for everybody. And if the person who's running it is not able to necessarily do things on the fly so easily, then I think that we should make it so that it's okay that they are like, yeah, I need some time, right? That being said, for that, in terms of random encounters, I agree that it is a good stopgap. Would I utilize it in such a way for something like D&D? Potentially, though for that, at least for me, it depends on which direction they go if I do have the world prepped. Because I do usually have at least that much. And so if they go this way or that way, it might change the biome slightly, potentially. So if I use the random encounter, I could maybe make an equivalent of whatever it chooses, potentially, and then go from there. But I also have to think of this in a purely new player sense or new DM sense, because you might not have that necessarily, like the full world made up. You might have like a lot of it, you might have some of it, and at that point as well, I think that it's entirely and utterly fine if you just go, yeah, random encounter, you guys have to fight goblins. Are there goblins in this area? Well, there are now. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And while it's happening, since it might take a good, maybe 20 minutes potentially, you might be able to come up with a reason as to why, all that kind of stuff. And hopefully have enough time to really flesh out more of where they're going and all that kind of stuff if you need to. But yeah, I think that I think that really, for a newer DM even, hopefully you're with a group that allows this thought of, I need some time, because I think that's the most important thing that we could be giving a new DM if they are flustered and all that kind of stuff with it.
I will say, just to kind of piggyback,
Yeah.
So I have like taught lots of people how to play D&D,
Sure.
and I happen to be in the position where a lot of my players themselves become DMs, which is fantastic for me.
Yes.
But the players I've had that have become DMs, sitting down like in their campaigns, they have directly said it exactly that of like, hey guys, give me like half an hour,
Awesome.
like finish your meals, talk amongst yourselves, say whatever, like show each other the funny shit on the phone.
Yeah.
Just like give me a half an hour, I want to make this good.
Yeah, good. Glad to hear that.
So I would hope that is a widespread mentality.
I don't know.
I have a relatively low sample size.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's something that I don't see talked about much, at least. But then again, I don't know. You know, I have the small sample size of videos as well that I've seen. So maybe it is more prevalent. That would be nice. I would like to hope that it is. By the way, hello Pizza Funk. I saw you a while back, but I had to get my brain working and get that point out of it. Okay. Let's see what's next.
I mean, I could be trying to nudge them back towards if they think they're following the thread, and I'm trying to nudge.
By the way, I just want to say that was 30 seconds of the video.
Yeah.
I think I saw in the chat at one point that Timothy was asking if it was a good video so far. I have no idea. It's been good for the discussion, but I don't know if the video is good yet.
Nudge them back towards, but otherwise, I'm just sort of trying to lay out more tracks in front of them as they're going in this certain direction.
There you go.
Until I can get back to prep and sort of figure out where they want to go and what they want to do, and then I can prep that specific sort of information for them.
There you go. That's exactly what your point was. Very good.
Yeah, fantastic.
Awesome. That's really good to hear. Okay, cool.
So that's for me. That is where random encounters kind of step in. That's sort of been the good solution for me. The thing that random encounters, when you hear it for a lot of DMs and players, it leaves a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, and I think that's because D&D specifically is just...
that's so loud. That's so loud. Like, it's way louder than it should be. Holy
as soon as I saw it appear on the screen, I was like, oh boy, here it comes.
I would have been fine, more fine with it had it been silent. I would have been a little less, but more fine with it if it was, quieter.
You got to hear click.mp4 in all its glory.
I did. It was so clear. Oh boy!
I know that wasn't even an MP4. That was an M3U file.
Ooh. All right. Oh, God, I hope it's not
crisp.
Oh, I hope it's not more than like 3 times. Okay.
Hey, dude, you know what? Though, we are 1 minute into a 28-minute video.
I know. I know.
I'm going to keep a tally.
I'm going to. Oh, God.
Okay, we are already at 1.
Update from the cabinet. I hate OSB from China. Thank God for glue. Good luck with the rest of your cabinet. Show each other the funny shit on the phone. Aiden 2024. Yes.
Yeah, dude.
It's good stuff.
That's a critical part of hanging out.
It is. Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has not done a very good job of sort of explaining
Whoosh.
why they're there, what they're for. We know what they are, but we don't know they don't do a very good job of explaining why you actually want to include them in your games. And for me, that was sort of
That's fair.
the like light switch flip.
Yeah, really, it's just kind of put in there to say, hey, this is a tool that you can use. It's, this is for this bracket of levels and all that kind of stuff, right? The return of Greyman's arch nemesis ship bells. No, see, I like the ship bell noise. I don't like it when it's used in the videos for the subscribing notification bell thing. But I've been playing, as I said in the beginning of the stream, I've been playing Dredge all day. The bells and shit are great.
Dude, I should play Dredge.
Brother, you should. I literally sat down and played the entirety of the main game all day today and got through the main game, and I'm working on the DLC now.
Nice.
It's so good.
I've heard nothing but good things.
It is. If you like fishing and you like eldritch horror stuff, yeah.
I'm pretty neutral as to fishing, but love me some eldritch horror.
Yeah, man. It's good stuff.
I love looking beneath the surface of the water and seeing an eye staring up at me. Woo!
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Bell
attack, super effective to a wild Kraydon. No.
I do fear that we are 1 minute and 34 seconds into a 28:37 long video.
Yes.
And I fear I already know the rest of the video.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the question is, why do we put in combat encounters?
Yeah, we'll see.
Once I figured it out, I was like, why did in all the editions of D&D I've played and all the other games I've played, nobody really explained why I would want to use them and why I should be using them in my game.
Which is very fair.
I think so, yeah.
Like, the random encounters, like the why to use random encounters, has always been very absent in like every DMG I've read.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely fair. Good
so
criticism.
I definitely think WotC should include why random encounters should be used.
Yeah, if not just a list of potential reasons why, even you know, just you don't have to make it a hard and fast ruling of this is when you use it. Just do like, this is here for if.
Yeah, consider this if.
What exactly is a random encounter or a wandering monster encounter, whatever you want to call it? For me, it's a good way to put danger back into the game by making sure that anytime the party leaves a safe haven they're in, so basically any sort of settlement or anything like that, they are in fact entering the Kenny Loggins trademark danger zone. We're talking about providing new and unexpected dangers and challenges for you and your players to keep things interesting for both sides, because you don't know necessarily when the encounter is going to come up or what it's going to look like. So it's a nice thing as a DM to also be surprised by what's going on in the game and being kind of thrilled with what's going on. So obviously,
using the random encounter surprises you yourself as well as the DM, I suppose, in a way. But
yeah, it is a way to surprise yourself, but I have a little bit of umbrage with the word surprise yourself. Because as a DM, if I'm going, yes, you know what, that's a fitting encounter for the area. Yeah, sure, that is technically a surprise,
I guess, yeah.
But finding a gold dragon wormling in the middle of a forest is definitely also a surprise as the DM.
Yeah.
Given that his points, all of his points thus far have been nothing short of like excellent. In the last video, I'm willing to interpret, and where like in the very, very beginning of this video, I'm willing to interpret everything he says with like the best possible.
Oh yeah, of course, as you should. Yeah, no, I just it's the only thing that I have for it is if it's surprising me, that's fine and dandy, but I don't necessarily like have the prep work there because of it, you know? It might take me a little bit to get the stat block up if I need it or all that kind of stuff, or figure it out in my head as we go in, you know, whatever it might need to be. So it might make it be more of a hiccup in the game, right? Rather than me having a an idea of the terrain and such in the quote unquote biome, I guess, what all of the things are that are potentially in it, and then saying, okay, if I want them to have an encounter while they're traveling or something, or while they're out here in the fields, or while they're in the forest doing whatever, you know, trying to get food, who knows? You know, I can throw this at them. I have these things prepared because that's the way they're going. And so if I put this in front of them, yeah, sure, we can go with that. And then it just kind of moves through a little more seamlessly. I have the things to rely on, so I don't have to be scrambling through the book.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, go on.
No, that's basically it. Go on.
Yeah. So as a DM, like my style of like handling combats, is I will have, for every session, I will have like 2 or 3 combats that are like still filled with like relatively jobber enemies. There are no real big major long-term stakes at play, but I'll design a few combat encounters, and then I will also have 2 or 3 encounters on like standby that are level appropriate.
Yep.
Of just like when I need to pocket sand my players.
Yeah.
That's for me a better way of handling random quote unquote random encounters.
Exactly. Yeah. It makes it so that you've already done the work, so you can at least have it be all in front of you, right?
Yeah.
And
I remember actually something that I'll do is I'll just like, a stat block doesn't take up much room. If you can reduce basically a character sheet down to a stat block, and have only the absolute basics of what you need, you can fit 3 or 4 like different stat blocks per like side of a page.
Absolutely.
Meaning that if you sacrifice like a standard ruled notebook page of just like, hey, I have 8 things on this page, that can be either a combat against 8 entities, or it can be like 3 wolves, just all that are all the same, and an alpha wolf. That's combat with only 2 stat blocks.
Exactly.
Of my 8.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to do it for prep work, because again, surprise is not necessarily a great thing in terms of you, the DM, like being surprised in this case, because again, it could really slow things down.
Yeah, again, I really do think he means quote unquote surprise, as in like, if I were to go, oh hey, you know what? No, goblins would be good here. Yeah, there's goblins, and there's a goblin archer in the chandelier.
Yeah. That I agree. I think that's what he means. But what I'm saying is that it's still just a thing that will require you to have that need of the looking up the stats and such, potentially, especially for a newer DM. You aren't going to know necessarily any of the stats offhand, and you might not have prepped for that kind of thing, or have an equivalent prepped already.
Well, the minor pushback on that point. Do you really need the stats for a goblin? Goblins are low level
If
shit
you
enemies.
if you are a
Give them-
brand new DM who wants to at least have it be quote unquote balanced, I would think that you
I
would
guess.
want the stats. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just more so a fan of like, hey, you know what? I need something that will act as for I I'm gonna call it a damage sponge.
Yep.
I don't necessarily mean it just soaks up
Yeah,
lots
yeah,
of
yeah.
damage. I just mean it has an AC of 14 and an HP of 28. It
Mhm.
deals 1d6 on an attack with a short sword.
Sure.
Boom, done. That's a goblin.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But again, if this is meant to be
do it.
something that's
Yeah.
more new base, then yeah. I think
Yeah,
that,
that's fair. That's fair.
but the other thing that I would say in this case is, if you're going to be using the random encounter table, I had said this before, but if you're going to roll things out and go for it, you can utilize that before you do the things for prep and stat out things and just like utilize those rolls as random encounters that you've rolled up already. And when you think that it's appropriate, you throw it at them, because then it's at least part of the prep work rather than needing to be necessarily in the moment, right? It is a surprise to you, I suppose, for a second, but you don't necessarily need that surprise to be able to take you aback in that kind of way that I've been talking about, of not having you have any prep. So prep it out beforehand, roll them out beforehand if you want to use that table, and thus you then have these things ready already.
I did want to just throw out,
Yeah.
and this is just a tip for free.
Mm.
Named random encounters.
Mm.
Because I'm a big fan of like, oh hey, they're in a dangerous area. There may be combat that breaks out. So like every hour or two, I'll make a secret roll to myself.
Yep.
So I'll just provide an example. Do you remember me telling you about the friendly lich in my world
I do.
that had built a big ass tower that was like visible from really fucking far off because it
Yes.
stretched up to the heavens?
Yes.
The players made a few visits to his tower, and I'm really happy that they finally like rolled the score necessary for what I call a named random encounter.
Mm-hmm.
It was a group of not goblins, kobolds rather.
Ooh.
It was a group of 5 kobolds who all were like led by one big kobold who had
Oh.
stuff like a skunk in a cage on his back
Yes.
that would deal like 1d4 poison damage as he like sprayed it on people.
Yeah.
Or 2 pieces of felt and a bit of amber. And he would like rub his hands together to make some like static.
Yeah.
And then plant both his hands on you and deal 1d4 thunder or electric damage, I guess technically. As basically he had, or the kobolds had been like in the area that the Lich's tower now occupied.
Mm-hmm.
And when the kobolds showed up to deal with what they perceived as a threat, they met the Lich.
Yeah.
If you know about the Lich, you know he is not a big fan of killing things. In fact, his plan is to be the last thing that had to die.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "Hey, you know what, kobolds? You guys like dragons, right?" And they were like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Who's your leader? I'll make you a dragon in return for service.
Yeah.
If you guard the area around my tower and you bring people to me unharmed, I will turn your leader into a dragon over the course of a few years."
Yeah.
And what he was doing is just like basically giving cantrips to a kobold and they were all like poison or cold or thunder or fire, and he was basically making the goblin a little tiny Tiamat, except all of his elemental attacks only dealt 1d4.
Nice.
And I forget what his name was. But he was a named random encounter
Yeah.
that, like, every time the players entered into, like, that stretch around the tower, I would make a roll, and they had a 10% chance of encountering it.
Yeah.
And they got it, like, on the third try, and I was like, fuck yeah, I get to share this little subplot.
Yeah.
And all of this to say that random encounters can be a fantastic opportunity for you to add flavor to your world, as well as like giving your players a quest. So
Yes.
maybe they encounter a wraith, for instance, or not a wraith, a revenant.
Yes.
And they, like, the party didn't piss off this revenant.
No.
They're just like on his trail of destruction on the way to who the revenant's actual target is.
Yeah.
And hopefully this will get your players to ask, why is this here?
Yes. Exactly.
And then you can give them like a little bit of lore, or hey, maybe there's a quest, maybe there's a noble in a nearby town who needs to go.
Exactly. It's the subtle world building that can be given via a random encounter of that type, for sure.
Yeah, and because this the path of this quest lies perpendicular to the path of the main quest, I can just sprinkle this in as necessary.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. It's like I told the story about what's his face? The little goblin that I had who or the trio of goblins that I had as a random encounter in my very first world. Who, if you had gone in a certain area, there was a chance that you could find them, and they would try to hold the party up. Well, not necessarily hold the party up, but they would try to sneak into the party's camp and try to take medical supplies. And if they were confronted, they would try to get away with the medical supplies. And if they were killed, they were killed. But if they were, followed and such, they would see that they were trying to tend to a wounded goblin. And yeah,
I was gonna say my knee-jerk response would be, hold on, why are they taking fucking ibuprofen and bandages?
Exactly. And it was a whole little subplot of this little goblin who was he and his trio had escaped from a slave camp of dwarves, because they were using the goblins as slaves to do their labor for them, because they had gotten what's the fucking word? Dionysus, hedonistic. There we go.
Okay.
They had gotten too hedonistic, and and so they had started using goblins as slave force, because one, goblins, nobody likes them, so get fucked. If they can keep them subjugated, and if they, were found out, I guess, in the sense of if some of them escaped, who would believe them? And all this kind of stuff, right? Because of stigmatisms and stereotypes, right? And he had a ring on him that in 3.5 there's a ring that allows you to be invisible to dark vision specifically, instead of being a ring of invisibility. And it was a signet ring, basically, to have him be of the royal bloodline of goblins. And he had kept it, and so his little friends were trying to nurse him back to health, because he had sustained a wound while they were escaping. And it was a whole little sub bit.
That's cool.
That could have been a thing. And
man, Was this encounter in a campaign that I played?
Yes, it was in Age of Magic Fur.
Oh, damn it!
Yeah, we didn't go long enough for that to happen, and I wish we had. It was just a little thing that could have.
Man, that would have been cool.
Yeah, it's just a little. It's a little. Take that for you, everybody. You can have that one. His name I think was Grubnub or something. I can't remember. It's on. I have a notebook somewhere here, and it's got all the information because I wrote a whole thing for him. But yeah, it's having that, like you said, a named encounter that is a side plot thing. Although for me, it was just another direction that everybody could go, because the sandbox aspect that I like to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Dionysus, yes. Thank you. Why are random encounters here? What is the meaning of random encounters? Indeed.
Yeah, so I do find it kind of fitting for how answering one question made me fall in love with random encounters. Um when we throw random encounters at our players as DMs,
Yep.
we kind of hope that they ask, why is that, why was their encounter?
Exactly.
Like, are we in a dangerous area? Should we keep moving? That revenant was pretty funky. Wonder what was up with that.
Well, yeah, it's just, and you don't necessarily need a table for it, but it is helpful for it for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, Danger Zone. Yes, I watch Archer. Indeed. That had Kenny Loggins on the show to sing that song, by the way. Did it really? I didn't know that. Just thought of a big buff kobold when Aiden said that. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's also what was it? The Swobold in Kobold Press's books, I think. So yeah, humans using goblins as slaves? No, it was dwarves. You encounter a goblin, no big deal, right? Nobody knows this goblin's name. He is known only as the Human Slayer. Indeed, that's right. That's a good one.
Obviously, random encounters have picked up sort of a bad reputation over the years, and that's not surprising. We can actually trace that all the way back to sort of the old ways, the Gygax ways. I've been watching. Gen Con did a series this year. Their YouTube videos, you can go check them out. I highly recommend you do. But you gotta have about 30 hours to burn. And that makes it seem like there's a lot of videos. I think there are 5. They're just all about 6 hours long.
Nice.
So keep that in mind. But they've been really interesting. So Gen Con did this video series to celebrate the 50th anniversary of D&D, where they played 5 different games of 5 different editions of D&D. And they talk about sort of the history and the design about it. And starting with 2nd edition, they had the lead designer from every edition of the game there to run the game. And also to get their insights about, this is what was going on in the company at the time. This is sort of our design directives. This is why we made certain choices. This is why we made other choices. So it's been really interesting to watch.
He is not a fellow Garabite. No. No.
Garabite.
I hate that, but it's so good. Garabite, did someone say Gygax ways? Oh god, oh no. I'm glad that we have converted you all well. Good shit.
It's really good. So if you're interested in sort of the history of D&D and role-playing games in general, I highly recommend going checking it out. It's all on YouTube. It's all free. It's all super fun. But in that, they noted that it's something that sort of the old grognards, those old school people kind of know implicitly. But prior to 3rd edition, it was simply could not learn how to play the game by buying and reading the books. That's kind of a weird function of D&D, TSR D&D. You needed to know someone who already knew how to play and could interpret the books, because the books were more like...
Oh, okay, yeah. I've heard this before, that the old TSR stuff was harder to parse if you were brand new, and you needed somebody who had done it enough that allowed you to figure it out, so that you could run it yourself if you wanted to, or play it even. I have heard that. I don't know how true that is. But then again, at this point, we have such a different style of D&D that we can kind of break down to go backwards with to understand what we need to do. With the older editions, it's just Thaco really that, but he even has a table for that, so you don't really need to know Thaco necessarily anymore. So yeah, there is a few rules here and there that are very strange, like missile speed and such, but as with anything, we take and leave whatever we want for whatever edition we're playing. Right? So I don't know.
Tech manuals for somebody who already knew what they were doing. And so there are a number of people, and they talk about that, people, especially kids, but even adults who would buy the books or would get the books as a gift or whatever it was, and read them and be like, this is really cool. I have no idea how to play this game. And you hear all the stories of people who are like, we just played the rules completely wrong. We just kind of made it up as we went, and we had a great time. You know, that make-believe aspect, that wonder of childness, that inner child.
I did not say we've evolved as TTRPG players, but we have. That's true.
Yeah,
No,
that's fair.
Yeah, but legitimately, I think that we have as a hobby, like the hobby has gone on. It has evolved as well. We don't do the things that we used to as much. Even the OSR stuff is different than the really old stuff and some of the older stuff. Like we have definitely I guess
we've grown and evolved.
Yes, we've iterated so much that I think we're at a fantastic point for every single type of player, which is great. Since I'm thinking about it now, how come Garibay doesn't just play 1E? Only he seems to like that, but he seems like the type to do that. Because D&D, I don't know, he likes it a lot, so,
That kind of just allows you to have fun, which is really cool. That delves specifically into random encounters because they just don't explain the why of random encounters. From the very beginning all the way up to today in 5th edition. But if you bust out the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide and look under random encounters, at no point does it really tell you why you should run random encounters. It tells you what they are and how to build a table, provides tables for you for different biomes and things like that. But it doesn't tell you why. And that's just this weird persistence of D&D with random encounters. It just does this terribly poor job of telling you why you should use it. It'll tell you what they are, where they can be, but they don't tell you when you should be using them. Actually, I don't even think 5th edition tells you any role mechanics for it, and it doesn't tell you why you should use them. Or
I don't know if it should. I mean, like we said, it should be options rather than telling you when you should, right? It's the consider this, as you put it.
Yeah.
So, but I assume that's what he means. I hope that's what he means. So, 5 is bigger number than 1. That's why Garibay plays 5e. Probably.
You know what? I hate how right you probably are.
It's whatever the newest edition is. It's the next thing. So
consume.
Yep. That's really it at the end of the day.
How to use them effectively, which was like the more salient questions to really answered with them. And I think that's why most people have this sour taste with random encounters, because they're often kind of just that. They're just random. They're not thoughtfully implemented. I find the term wandering monsters is more appropriate, which is the old term, which I think is a little bit more thoughtful about, descriptive about how it's supposed to be used. It's a little bit more appropriate. It's about coming across other creatures, not about tossing an unnecessary combat encounter, an unnecessary fight in an average game session. As we know, is often the majority of time spent is planned combat encounters in any sort of game, because combat is so bloated in modern D&D that it feels weird. You're just going to throw an extra fight in there that wastes more time, that doesn't progress the story, etc. Just because lol random. Like, you understand why people are like that, and I was certainly of that mind for a long time, and it wasn't really until just a few years ago that I sort of changed my mind on that. What
do you think about the term wandering monsters? Does that fit better? Aiden?
I need to hear it again.
Oh, just the term itself of wandering monsters. Does that fit better for random encounters?
No.
Okay.
Because it implies a singularity to the monster itself, instead of like it could be a group of bandits.
I suppose let's at least assume that it's wandering monsters, right, with an S.
Okay.
What do you think? Does it for the purpose that we are discussing it at this point, does it fit better?
I really don't think it fits any better or worse.
Okay. I think that
I think it's a tomato sort of situation.
I think that it gives the expectation correctly of what we're talking about. At least it's a better a better set of words to imply the definition of. At least in terms of what it's being used for in this case and what people usually talk about. With a random encounter being usually a combat thing, I think that it would get people to understand what it is better. That being said, my past point of trying to make random encounters not be just the combat thing, I still stand by. But if we want to use definitions, or at least words, to create more of a unified definition as to what we're talking about, I think it would work better. But anyway. I wonder what Garibay thought of 4E when it was the newest version. He loved it.
I loved it.
Yeah, he loved it. No, legitimately, I still have a video in the backlog of him defending 4E. I do. He likes 4E a lot, which I'm like, oh, okay, hell yeah, there you go, finally.
Unexpectedly based.
Yes. Garibay, 1E is pure form of Gygax. Be a true dungeon gooder. No, he master for him. Yeah. Anyway.
Did I start using random encounters? Well, at first it kind of came with an understanding of how random encounters could be useful for my games. For me, it's about increasing the level of tension and pushing players towards decision and action. Wandering monsters was an inclusion in early D&D, where combats were woefully dangerous, and defeating monsters did not grant you XP. So it's important to remember that is where the wandering monsters or random encounters comes from. It comes from an edition of the game where you do not get anything out of fighting monsters. Except for maybe their loot, if they have loot on them. But the act of fighting monsters and killing creatures does not give you any experience, it doesn't give you any level of advancement, it doesn't do anything. All that's tied to gold. It's why the old style of...
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. That is true. So if they had gold on them, that is technically how you would get advancement. But, yeah, no. I mean, technically the loot as well is also advancement at that point then. So it still is.
I do kind of like it in the context of, like, wandering monsters could just as easily be seen as, wandering obstacles.
Yeah.
I do kind of like that.
As with any journey, you will have obstacles, whether or not they will be easily overcome or whatever. And having thematic obstacles via monsters that would live in a biome, or people, or whatever, then yeah, I think they're good for, and it's also good for making the world feel more alive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it for me. I didn't really have anything else.
Yeah. We want more love for 4E, but do we want it to be from Garibay? I'm good for it for anybody, as long as it's not for reasons that are just consume product. That's the fear for Garibay, but I don't know. Haven't watched the video yet. I feel like a random encounter can be other things, though. Like, if you ran into a friendly trade caravan, I would also consider that a random encounter. Yes.
An encounter does not mean an engage.
Exactly. We were talking about that a while back. I think before you came in, Pizza Funk, where it would be nice if we could push the point of random encounters to be more than just combat, for sure.
play feels so very different because the motivation is very different. The old school motivation is, well, you accumulate wealth, because if you accumulate wealth, you can accumulate levels, you can advance. Whereas modern D&D, almost the only thing that gives you XP explicitly in the game is monsters. Obviously, why we spend
I would say that depending on what system you're using, because you could be using XP or you could be using Milestone, right? Milestone is more modern at this point, and more utilized, I think, because a lot more people are understanding that the XP system, while fine and can be fun, is annoying for advancements. Having everybody level at different speeds potentially. Though everybody levels at the same speed now, but it wasn't always the case. But having it so that, everybody is at least on the same level for the party, it also helps with the Dungeon Master's job of making sure that everybody is at the same power level, hopefully, so that, they can balance their encounters better and all that kind of stuff. I think Milestone is really done away with, or it hasn't done away with it, right? Because everybody uses it still for certain games and certain things, but it's at least helped with making the feel of random encounters being more like they used to be for, I guess, in the sense of providing that sense of tension, as he said, or danger and all that kind of stuff, to be more prevalent. At least that's what I believe. Could be wrong, because, hell, maybe majority of people still use XP. I don't know.
Well, I think milestones more common these days.
I would think so. It at least feels that way. By the way that people talk about D&D these days.
Yeah.
Oh,
a lot of time.
The other thing that I wanted to say was, so I think the other angle that we have going on is the feel of how D&D is now modern, in its modern sense, being, as we talked with Peter about how as you get more powerful, it feels less and less deadly, right? You have things that don't necessarily two-shot you, and of course talking about Raw, because however you run your game might be completely different and might actually feel deadly every day. But I think that some of that kind of bleeds into the problem that, or at least, yeah, it bleeds into the problem with how random encounters can feel like they're unnecessary and feel more like, I don't know, it gives that bad stigma to it a little bit, because it's just going to be a slog after a while, usually, when you get to the higher levels, because it's just, you're waiting for the HP bar to go down, really, to get to wherever it needs to be so that the thing dies or runs away, potentially. I don't know if, again, depending on the game and assuming it's Raw. But I think that the feel of that really does make it more detrimental, unfortunately. I don't know. Okay, we're good.
Fighting monsters, and those monsters themselves don't actually come with loot tables, but in old school D&D, they come with loot tables to kind of tell you like what these monsters might have on them. So you see the difference. Old editions of D&D, that sort of OSR clone stuff, it's about sneaking and stealing and tricking and ambushing monsters whenever possible. That's like the primary modes of play, and that's very different than sort of like contemporary D&D, where it's about sort of like squaring up with monsters and even combat sport, Avengers Civil War style. Two forces run against each other. If you were trying to do that in old school D&D, that's just a great way to like lose your character very quickly, because your characters are very frail, and like one save, one bad die roll, or one good but die roll on the bad guy's side is the difference between having a living character and having a dead character and having to roll up another one. It's very different from today's primary mode of play, which I feel is very much that.
It's the difference between Indiana Jones versus Marvel. Like in indie movies, like he's trying to solve puzzles, get through without fucking dying. Versus a Marvel is like the big ass bombastic, like cool abilities thrown around in like flashy combat.
Especially with what it's become, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Yeah.
That sort of fantasy superheroes kind of feeling. For me, it was about the why for it was stopping characters from doing the things that kind of broke the idea that the world was dangerous, that they were in a dangerous situation. So that was things like resting in dungeons, spending a bunch of time in dungeons searching rooms for treasure, checking every single nook and cranny of every single dungeon, like all that stuff.
Well, so obviously, yeah, in the beginning, when they're, just getting into the dungeon, potentially they could be finding these things randomly, right? But once they get through it enough, I feel like it's fine to then say, okay, yeah, you guys can explore the rest of it. I mean, you have to deal with traps and stuff and all this kind of shit that might still be active, or now you have these things to get past them because you took out the guy who has the, like, master key or whatever the fuck, right? And then, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I guess maybe I should just take the best faith is that that is something that he would agree with, and not thinking that while they are still, like, going through it after defeating the, I guess, boss, potentially. I mean, whatever the main threat is in the dungeon, whether it might be the dungeon itself, even, like, getting to the final room, potentially, in a certain amount of time or something. Like, I don't know, however you set it up.
Yeah.
Unless there's, like, cave-ins and such that might be happening because of going through it or whatever. But I think at that point it would be fine to then let them go, oh yeah, you go through.
You have a lot of power as DM to, like, try to, like, get the players to step on the gas.
Yeah.
And, like, I guess just worry about the time frame with which they handle this dungeon anyway. I, I don't know. Sorry, I'll be completely honest. I was playing Balatro.
Apparently that got a big indie game award, I heard.
Oh, dude, it's so fucking good.
Oh,
It's
I know.
Number Go Up the Simulator.
I've not played it myself, but I've only heard good things, and it seems like something that I could get addicted to if I really wanted to.
Oh yeah, no, I wholeheartedly recommend it. Don't download it.
Oh yeah, I have too many games.
The night I bought it, I, like, loaded up a couple hands, and I was like, oh, I'll see if I can figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And then when it felt like I woke up.
Yeah.
5.5 hours later.
Oh, that's a good game, though. That's a good game.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
Fantastic. Anyway, let's see. Char insisted on us using XP for our campaign. Surprising no one. Well, yeah, but that's fine, So XP is totally fine, right? In 3.5 even, they have a lot of math that you can fall back on for that kind of stuff. So I see no reason why it can't be something that you can do. It's just, for me, with the way that I like to run things, Milestone feels way better because I can throw things at people and they don't have to worry about, making sure that they kill all of the goblins or whatever. It gives less of the incentive, I think, to kill all of the things, right? Because they aren't worth XP. They are there to be the encounter on the journey to get to the next level. They are an experience. They are just a part of the journey, really.
Solving the encounter of being in a dangerous dungeon.
Yes.
Gives the XP. Whether they choose to solve that by murdering everything in the dungeon or by sneaking through, I don't care.
Exactly. Plus it feels better for a narrative sense. I don't know. It really does to me. I've thought about this for a while. Do people ever reuse dead characters, or do you always need to use a new one no matter what? So if you get revived in the same campaign, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. You can use somebody who died. If you do a different campaign, yeah, why not use a dead character? That's okay, in the sense that if it doesn't conflict with, I guess, the canon, quote unquote, if it's in a different world, technically, I guess. I don't know. I've heard of people, taking characters here and there to whatever campaign that they want to do. And there's no reason not to. For me, I'm like, oh, his story's done. It's over. That's me, though. If you want to use somebody who's died in a previous game that you've played, I see no reason why that would be a problem.
Yeah.
Used to be really risky because the DM was rolling actively every round that you guys were moving through the dungeon to see if wandering monsters were going to stumble across the party. But when we took out that sort of wandering monster stuff in contemporary D&D, you see a different mode of play where the parties now will spend a lot of time scouring every inch of every dungeon to avoid every single trap and to find every single piece of treasure that they can find. So
I think that, like you were saying before, Aiden, it's I don't think necessarily that random encounters are always the answer to this, but they are definitely one of the tools that you can use to stop that if you want that to not be the case, right?
Much like a lot of the DM's toolbox, the DM has the position of they have a lot of tools available to them.
Mm-hmm.
None of these tools should be used over much.
Exactly.
So the mindset in that old time was that the dungeon is capital D dangerous. It's always dangerous. The wilderness is always dangerous. You're trying to quietly and quickly and as safely as possible sort of fill your pockets with treasure and book it back to the nearest township. Because if you can get that wealth back to a safe haven, then it counts as XP for you. And you can level up. That's a very different way of playing and addressing the core idea of the game of going out and doing adventuring. It's very, very different than sort of contemporary D&D. We can take that old stuff, we can take the best of that and sort of like migrate some of that feeling into our modern games where it's kind of lacking.
Yeah.
And where we have trouble doing things like challenging player characters, try to take a little bit of that power back from like the super powered fantasy superheroes and pull that back to sort of our DM side and give us a little bit more control in the danger levels of the game and kind of what's going on with it.
So I don't think that that's necessarily only given by the random encounter tables.
No, absolutely not. Like your designed encounters, your bosses will help you like determine the difficulty in your campaign.
As said before, the descriptions that you give of certain areas will help establish a tone, how you run healing, how you run when somebody gets downed, all these things that you can establish before you've started the game are something that you can help get that power back, as is put, to make it so that it does feel more deadly. And if that's what you want, then absolutely go for it. But, random encounters are one piece that you can do for that. Yes.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of, like, subtle stuff, and I think you mentioned it earlier, of just, like, choosing in how I describe a scene. Of, like, will I describe it in a way that, like, everyone is happy, or, like, the little like tiny hints of like there's people are stressed for whatever reason. There's a unrest.
Here's sorry, go on if you have more.
Oh no, that was the end of my point.
Here's two scenes that I want you to hear and tell me what you think about them. Okay. So first one. The players are traveling on a road. They come across a town, and the town itself seems to be a small hamlet that has an entrance to it. It has it's just like the path kind of goes through it. It's kind of like a crossroads kind of place, right? and it's maybe 50 people live here. And it's just kind of like a stop along the road, really, it feels like. There's a few shops here and there, but mostly it just seems to be a place that has travelers that are kind of walking through it, and some that are going to this tavern that you can see a clear sign for, and all of that.
Okay.
So that's the first scene. Second scene, the players are going through on a road. They come to a walled town. It's a little bigger. Let's say there's about 100 people here. They have people posted on the walls keeping watch. They're actively looking out, and as the players approach, they are stopped by the people on top of the walls. They're questioned by them and eventually let into the city. And the city itself is made of stone. Each of the buildings themselves are made of stone. And there seems to be some shops here and there, but mainly there's a garrison that seems to be occupying a big part of the town. And it seems like there's a lot less people that seem to be walking about. What do you gather from both of those scenes?
I gathered that in the second scene, there is likely not a small amount of danger in the area, leading to people like being indoors, having that walled city, having a garrison nearby. I would, in fact, like to expand upon this point by giving you a third scenario.
Yes, please.
As the party is headed to the nearest town on the map, it's a sleepy little hamlet on the coast of the country. As the party is walking and they crest a nearby hill, they see the town aglow with fire. The party rushes in, and as they hear the clang of metal, they hear yelling, and as they see a tower in like by that garrison has a guard tower affixed to it. And as the party looks, they're seeing shapes that are scaling the outside of the tower. And as they look, one of those shapes that are scaling the outside of the tower, they're people. And they're, as the party is running to figure out what's going on, how they can help, they see one of these people jump forward, not unlike a grasshopper. And as a guard is leaning out of the tower to shoot an arrow down into the crowd of bodies, that jumping being skewers the guard through the neck and then plunges back down onto street level with him.
Yeah. A lot
Not
of
a random encounter.
No, yeah. All of those scenarios give you information. My main point was walls are very, very useful as a tool to show dangerous places. Settlements require walls if there are things around that are going to do them harm, and actively potentially do. Without walls, the settlements are usually a little more safe, / they could be patrolled by, you could probably see guards that are walking through as well, taking the roads, and you can then make it so that it's like, oh yeah, the kingdom has patrols on the major roads, potentially, right? Like, there's a lot that you can do to show the level of security, the level of danger, and get that all into somebody's head without a random encounter. And especially with Aiden's point of the third town that is fucked.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So like the point I was trying to get to was yes, random encounters are a fantastic
Mm.
tool in your DM's toolbox of establishing danger and like having a tone setter for the game. However, do not ignore the power of scripted combats.
Yes.
For instance, in that encounter, I know what those enemies are. They are necromancers in my, or a necromancer in my setting.
Mm.
Has taken like, you know, the radius and ulna in your arm, the two bones. Sharpened the ulna, which is like the bone more towards your elbow.
Yeah.
So that it like will flick outward like a sickle. And reinforced the leg muscles of people through like nearby animals, deer or whatever.
Yeah.
Just whatever has muscle mass that can be like grafted onto those leg muscles. And they made jumping like mantis zombies. That's a fantastic way for setting a tone of your world of like, there is some fucked up magic at play here if you really want to like lean into that.
Yeah.
And it's also like a fantastic way of like establishing like lethality, I guess, of like showcasing a person violently dying and getting dragged to the cobblestones as he's defending his village.
Exactly. It sets tone. It's good for the description element. It's a planned encounter. There's so many things going on at work for that. And you don't. It's just another combination. And usually description is the one that's going to be always there. You know. I think that working on descriptions as a DM is pretty a pretty good use of your time. So that you can really drive home a lot of the feel that you want to exude from the scenes that you're putting your players in front of.
You can also set the stage with like maybe that guard that died has a new wife and a baby on the way and she's distraught or whatever. Like maybe I will choose to have an encounter like that based upon what sort of like story I want to tell.
Exactly.
What sort of world I want to take shape.
Yes. From before about the dead characters. Cool. It sounded like an unwritten rule to keep your characters dead until you cleared it up. Thanks, bro. You're good. Yeah.
By the way, Alejo,
Hello.
you will be delighted to know that we are 10.5 minutes into the video and it has only played once. The bell.
Oh, yeah, true. Oh.
I was just looking at my piece of paper with the tally mark on it.
I have been waiting till we hit the midpoint because I assume that somewhere around there is going to be where a second one potentially could be. Like I said, as long as there's no more than 3, it's loud as fuck, but at least it's only 3, and it makes sense, beginning, middle, end. But I am happy that at least we seem to be in that trajectory. Let's see. Entropy gets loose from the afterlife all the time. Fair enough. I mean, in general, yes, the wild is dangerous, but you could travel a bunch without running into any harm, technically, kind of like real life. Sure. That's, again, it's what is the tone that you want to set for your world, right? Do you want the roads to be safe? Do you want the travel to be safer? You can have that happen. Is it that monsters are more segregated to deep forests and caverns and places that are inhospitable more so to the random folk who might be going out there to do their farming and such on the plains, right? Is it more that the people themselves could be the problem rather than monsters and animals, right? It just really, it depends on how you want to set your world up. It's not like that cloud has guardrails. You can just go right over the side. True. Settlements need walls when there are only humans around. What's that tell you? True.
for my games, and this is sort of how I implement it, settlements are safe, generally. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get into fights. If you've watched a solo RPG, you know that we get in a lot of trouble in cities as well. Like, there's plenty of ways to get in trouble. But the settlements themselves are generally safer. Traveling along roads is generally safer than going off-road. Sure, yeah, you're going to come across some street gangs,
Sure.
the highwaymen, goblins, and all that sort of normal humanoid sort of travel threats. But getting off-road into the wilderness where the monsters have their terrible dungeons and they lurk in the darkness, that's always going to be dangerous. So
that's a perfect example of having it be that the roads themselves are safer and things are in the more hard to reach areas like monsters and such.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
anytime that you're
I do really enjoy that this channel, like, we say a point and
Mhm.
then 30 seconds later he says it.
Yeah, it's been good.
That happens a lot on this channel.
Yeah. So far, yeah.
through that, it's always going to be dangerous. That's also where the wealth and the story threads should lead us. It should lead our player characters and our players in to want to go into that danger, to leave behind the safe haven and go into danger, because that's where the adventure is, right? That's where cool story is, that's where all the cool loot is, that's where all the monsters are that give us the XP. All that stuff's not in the city for the most part, not in these sort of safe villages and cities
Depending on the campaign, of course, because, you know.
and townships. They're not there. We have to go afield. We have to go into the darkness. So random counters can help players make decisions. Start looking at, when do I decide to use a random encounter? I'm looking to try to push the players to make a decision, or to just do something when they're stalling out or they're sitting around wasting precious session time. If you're limiting how the PCs that always kick the snot out of your bad guys, random encounters solve that too, for the most part. Multiple combats tend to whittle down PC resources. For me, coming to this...
Yeah, I mean, it is another tool for it, yes.
Yeah, I mean...
We've talked about it a little bit before.
Yeah, I guess I see his point. I have issue with, like, oh wow, they're defeating the boss encounter super easy. You better throw random combat encounters. It's like, no, you can stock a dungeon with, like, known monsters and, like, hey, this dungeon has 3 people in this room, 2 in this room, 5 and a dog in this room. Like, you can know these encounters and you can make them lethal.
Exactly.
To wear down resources, oftentimes in a more efficient way than anything that would have an element of randomness to it.
Right. Obviously, we can't control how the dice go and everything, but...
Well, yeah, sure.
But I'm not saying that to denote from your... or to devalue your point at all. Detract as well. But I'm just saying, I understand that is a frustration, and thus one of the ideas is, random encounters will help fix that. I get that. It is true technically. I don't know. It's like you said, I personally as well would rather do encounters that I have prepared to potentially be more dangerous and such, and know that that's the case, and that's how I've designed it. And yes, the dice fall as they may, but at least I have put in that work and effort to do that, rather than gone, hey, they killed the to take a page from Boo's book. They've only slightly. They've they've taken the Lich. They've put him in a fucking pin, and it was super easy, barely an inconvenience. Fuck. And then, obviously, he didn't throw random encounters at us afterwards, or before that, really. There was no need for that. It was just a circumstance that happened. But if something were to happen like that, and then somebody goes, oh, I guess I gotta throw, like, monsters at them to whittle them down, so that they're not as tanky, I guess, for the next one, or beefy, or have all the spells that they had, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, I mean, you can do that in a planned scenario, though, rather than having it so that they're running towards the dungeon and then, oh, bandits or something, right?
Ooh, spooky.
Ooh, I jump scared you with my banditry, you know.
He has a short bow. I got you.
But again, if I'm gonna be technical, yes, you're right. That is true. That is a solution. I don't know. It's the same thing with like how we were talking about traps, right? The trap itself, being the thing that takes away the resource, is its purpose that it is made for, but you can build around that to make it so that it's not just that, right? So it's the same thing with any encounter. If it's a combat encounter and its purpose is to whittle down the players, well, you can incorporate it into like the narrative that you're going for, into like the dungeon that you were designing, whatever, instead of making it be a random, ooh, lose some health, idiot. I want you to be weaker when you fight the big bad. You know? So that it feels more organic and natural.
Realization was like a complete 180 on it. It was like, now my monsters spend most of the time kicking the snot out of PCs and chasing them around dungeons and across the wilderness. Because every time that they go into that, they are on the monster's turf. They have that home field advantage, and the bush.
And I will say, it does feel like that's what he's doing, because he's set up that these zones, technically, if we want to go for that kind of term, these zones are where the monsters are. So it is a random encounter, but it's a planned random encounter in a way, right? They know that they are going into the forest, and it's got fucking corrupted fucking nymphs in it. I don't know. And it's like, oh, we gotta go save this forest. It's real spiky and shit. And all the animals inside it have this weird growth that's going through their bodies and making them more spiky and shit and evil. You know, something like that. And so, you know, it's obvious, at least to everybody involved, that, yeah, you're going through and you might encounter a creature that is corrupted. Okay, here we go, right? It's a controlled randomness, I guess. Which it works. Because it does feel more organic that way, in the sense that this is the area that they will be. And you've planned for that. You might not necessarily have, I guess, prepped the stats and stuff, potentially, but you can get those and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully you have, I guess, but I don't know. It seems like, at least to me, that Red Ragged Fiend here has been prepping and all that kind of stuff from these random encounters and such, and like using them as a basis, really, to go from. At least, and it doesn't feel like it is that surprise, I guess, that he was talking about, really.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So, like, I'm about it, and it's good. So yeah, I don't know.
Is just flush with them. Always run across them, and they are gonna be a bad time. And I mix this in, of course, with the sort of morale system. That idea that I'm gonna have a lot of combats. They're gonna be quick. They're gonna be like hit and run most of the time. People are gonna show up. They're gonna attack you. You guys are gonna swap some hit points. You're gonna swap some paint, and then the bad guys are gonna run away. They're not here to die. They came across you. They thought maybe you were gonna be a soft target. Maybe they want your stuff. They attack you. You put up a stern resistance. They're like, all right, well, that's probably too much effort for us. So we're gonna leave and go do something else. We're gonna find easier prey. That's one way to just make the world, once you get sort of off the roads, out of the settlements, always feel like it's dangerous. Like there's always going to be some sort of wandering monster around the next bend, through the next thicket, through the next hedgerow. They're there, and you're going to stumble across them, and they're going to stumble across you. So just traveling is dangerous. Trying to rest is dangerous. Trying to do basically anything when you're outside of town is generally dangerous, especially if you're going to go off-road. So that's sort of the feeling that I'm trying to evoke with my games, and how my games start to feel, I think very different from a lot of other dungeon masters. You know, I've played with and been a player for the games and seen how they run, and the things that I see are different, and the things that when I feel like I'm in that fantasy superhero kind of mode, I'm like, instead of hinging on like 1, 2, or 3 big set piece battles, to instead just have a whole bunch of small battles that kind of whittle away resources and then hit them with the big battle. When I've got, they spent half their spell slots and fighters already used their second wind and action surge for the day. They're going into it not at 100%, they're going into it at like 50%. But my monsters, my big set piece battle, those guys are coming in fresh and ready to fight. They're all at 100%. That changes the scales. That makes... So now the set piece battles feel dangerous because they are more dangerous, because not necessarily because the monsters are any more dangerous, but because the PC power level went from up here where it usually is to down here, while the monsters just stayed the same. So it's just about when to put those set piece battles in, and how to put obstacles in front of the players to challenge them, cut down their resources, and cut through their abilities, weather them before they get there. I think
you even use the word obstacles, which is good. I'm quite happy. It's good. This video is good. I'm glad that this video is good. And also, we're past the halfway point. Yes, there's no additional, my ears.
Oh, you don't know that.
I don't know that, but I'm hopeful. There's probably going to be one at the end. There has to be one.
In like 15 seconds from now.
Don't you dare put this evil upon.
I think this works really well. I run milestone games anyway, so I don't use Monster XP, because I think the Monster XP is part of the problem. That is the difference. If you want to look at like one way how old D&D and new D&D are very, very different, XP and how you advance in levels is a great way to look at that. One of them's from getting wealth, and one of them's from killing or overcoming monstrous challenges. And those things look very different. There's a very different game where a person's like, I'm a thief in a town, and I'm trying to steal every coin off of every person I can find because I want that wealth to level up, versus somebody who's like, I cast Fireball on the king, how much XP is he worth when he dies? Both of those are super chaotic and maybe poisonous player elements, but you can see that those work very differently, right? They diverge quite a bit. Use Morale kind of sort of keeps them short. The monsters show up, they get a few licks in, and then they retreat. The encounters themselves are not terrifying because they're not...
I was really hoping that he was going to start talking about Milestone a little bit there, because it seemed like a good segue into that.
It felt like he was leading into it.
Yeah, it really felt like it was going to be a good segue, but he went back to the random encounter point, which, yeah, sure, but come on. I believe. You could have made a stronger position with that.
Not like high level, they're not those big set piece battles where we're throwing everything up against the wall. They're usually mundane, they're usually kind of like in the medium challenge difficulty rating, sometimes even easy.
I wonder, actually, I don't, you know what, I should check into it a little bit, but I wonder what his opinions on CR are, and, like, the balancing of how raw D&D actually is, right? Because that's a big issue that could come up because of how they present the CR system and how they present how you should balance encounters, rather than how it kind of actually usually plays out, and how that's kind of something that you have to feel and kind of get accustomed to, really, with your experiences playing D&D and running D&D, rather than looking at the stat blocks a lot of the time, and going by them exclusively.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Let me see if he has a video on it. Let's see. Okay, so I search CR. Why session prep is useless? Try this instead. That's a 2.5 hour video? Oh my god.
We'll save that for the next 48-hour stream.
Oh, these must be live streams. Okay, these are live streams. Okay.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. Fair
okay.
enough. That's not what I'm looking for. Doesn't seem like he has anything specifically on CR challenge rating. Random encounters video that we're watching. That's it. No, he doesn't have one on CR. Okay. I would really like to know the opinion on that, at least, because that seems like something that could help with the argument here, or and really give you it, combined with Milestone, really give you a solid foundation of potentially why an XP system itself is it cultivates this the mentality that he wants to go against, and making things more deadly by utilizing them in a certain way, or utilizing the utilizing Milestone probably, and then utilizing monsters rather than CR, if that makes sense. So I don't know. Something, but nothing yet.
You've watched the solo RPG. You've seen.
We'll wait and steeple our hands and watch and wait.
Indeed.
How I build combats, where I basically push everything up to the edge of deadly, and then just kind of roll to see how many of those monsters are going to show up in the fight. So,
sorry, say things again. Say words again.
Well, they're usually mundane. They're usually kind of like in the medium challenge difficulty rating. Sometimes even easy. If you've watched the solo RPG, you've seen how I build combats, where I basically push everything up to the edge of deadly, and then just kind of roll to see how many of those monsters are going to show up in the fight. So it could be all the way up to really hard, all the way down to basically trivial. Just to kind of keep it very, very random. It's the idea that those fights aren't scary because the fights are high level, but because they're ever present. These fights will keep happening. The more time you spend here, the more time you tarry here, the more time you're not moving forward in the plot, the more rolls I'm going to make, the more encounters you're going to get into. And one of the important things to sort of remember is
I think it's interesting because he's using terminology that is descriptive of how the CR system characterizes encounters. So it sounds like he uses it a lot. So at least
well, like you'd have to for like random encounters, I would imagine.
Yeah. I just I wonder about its efficacy in terms of its like how he feels in its balance, right? Because he's putting, as you said, he's putting these things up to deadly usually, and then rolling to see how many might show up. Which there's that random element to it that is, I guess it doesn't matter, I guess, at the end of the day, because if he's already putting everything so high up that it will be a deadly encounter, and then making it so that it's like dependent on the amount of things that are there, it will always give him that feel of deadliness whenever he's in that kind of zone thing.
So the question is, though, is like, does he have a way of measuring deadliness or lethality?
Well,
is it hit points lost per round? Is it downs per combat?
Well, so that's why I was saying, because he's using the terminology that is part of how the book determines deadly and medium and easy and trivial and all that kind of stuff. So I think he's using how the CR system designates things to be deadly.
That could be.
So like that's why I'm wondering about how he's actually, what his opinions are about it, right? And I guess ultimately, like I said, it doesn't matter if it is deadly or not, or if it is balanced or not, I guess, because he's going for that feel, right? And that seems to be working out, so that's good. I just wonder if the CR system is something that he thinks is broken or not.
Is that the moment that you're off the beaten path, you're in the monster's domain. Emphasize to the players, when you stray off the path of civilization, the monsters will not let you know peace. They're going to make it very difficult for you, because this is not your place. You are a stranger in a strange place.
Though I do, sorry, I do wonder about the random encounter tables that he's using, if he's created his own or not. That's something that I have a question about, because if he's going by ones that he's created himself in order to give this feel for the deadliness of his campaign, that changes the game in the sense of how the random encounter tables are, like, he's utilizing the random encounter tables differently than they're presented, because the random encounter tables in the books are usually full of, like, level, like, CR1 to CR whatever, right? Like, it's a bunch of random shit together, usually. Though I think they are grouped by, like, actual challenge rating, so I might be wrong about that.
So the feeling I get is that what was their name? Red Dragon Jesus, why am I putting an end on?
I don't know.
An end on it. Red Ragged Fiend is a experienced DM, and I'm making that assumption because they agree with everything. They say it 30 seconds after I say it, which means they agree with me, not I agree with them.
Right. True.
But making custom random encounter tables seems to be something that a more experienced DM would be more likely to do. So I am going to make an assumption. I'm going to take a gamble on the fact that they have probably done so.
And if so, then I hope that that's a part of this, in the sense of talking about that, because that would be a very good point to put into this video. Yeah, so we'll see. So if the party is high level, at the random table will not be a challenge. No. Each random table is made, at least in the book, it's made for a specific challenge rating, so which usually corresponds to a party size of 4 that is at that level. So a challenge rating of 5 is a party of 4 characters at level 5, and so on and so forth, up and down, right? So everything will be supposedly balanced to be better or worse for that party.
Unfortunately, we know it's not, because magic items and also synergy exist.
Exactly. But in this instance, it seems like, at least from our assumptions, Red Ragged Fiend has taken those tables' ideas and taken things that are deadly in terms of the amount of XP that they're given, that they give to players, and utilize that as the tables for his random encounters, right? Which will always be a challenge unless, like, 1 or 2 monsters are rolled on it, right? Instead of being like max of 5, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's at least the impression that we're getting.
And the night is dark and full of terrors, and those terrors are monsters, and they want to kill you and eat you and take your stuff. So when do I want to use these random encounter monitoring monsters? Usually, like I say, is to unstuck players. We've all had that sort of instance as DM where when players get stuck on, they don't know where to go, or they get stuck in there, they kind of do a circular discussion, they kind of get into an argument, they don't know, and you don't necessarily want to sort of like lead them by the nose, but it's always nice. It kind of follows, random encounters wandering monsters for me kind of follows
a werewolf jumps out from some bushes, takes a couple swipes at the party's paladin, and then runs due north.
Old pulp writing advice is that when you don't know what to do, have a man walk through the door with a gun. When they're stuck, when they don't know what to do, usually this is at a decision point. Usually they don't know which way to go, or they're stuck in a puzzle or something like that, and they don't know how to move forward, but there's still other avenues for them to explore. Often just telegraphing that monsters may be in the vicinity, like rolling dice and then being like, oh, you hear people moving, you hear some sort of creatures moving through the passageway, or you see their torchlight, or you have a good perception check and you see them first. That will heel turn a party really, really quickly from indecisive to like very action oriented.
So first, I just want to say that it's great that the point of the characters will get a notification basically in game of this thing happening to them, to at least hopefully get them to be prepared as to the fact that a encounter is going to be coming up. That's nice.
Never doubt the power of birds going silent.
Exactly. So that's cool. Glad to have that. Because I was going to say, random encounter, throw something at them to stop the discussion at that point and tell them they need to fucking go. Not so big a fan of that. But with the context of you start hearing the rustling sounds around you and the birds stop and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's at least better than saying, fuck you, there's a werewolf. But all that to say as well, we talked about it before. You don't necessarily need to have the random encounter in order to prompt the players to do something. Again, going to push the DMPC arguments of, hey, if you have, and as we've said many a time, a DMPC is just an NPC. We can stop.
Yes.
It's fine. Have the NPC say, guys, we need to, what are we doing? Let's go. I'm tired of this, right? To have it be a more organic feel, because somebody's going to get frustrated at the lack of a decision being made when they want to do something. That's natural.
If the purpose of the DMPC is to shoo them along, make them impatient and brash.
Yes.
Have them just standing there, wait on one leg as they're tapping the other foot.
Yep.
And they're just kind of looking around, arms folded, waiting.
Yep.
And then as the party hems and haws, they just speak up or maybe even interrupt someone.
Yeah.
And say, guys, come on, shit or get off the pot. What are we doing?
Exactly. Fucking, as they're talking, you just give little descriptions of hearing just huffs from the guy, and they're walking around the table and trying to stretch
swapping his weight back and forth between his legs.
Yep. Just you can see the actual not anxiousness, but irritation that is happening and making them full of this energy that they need to get out, and they just start getting more and more disruptive with their movements.
Yeah. Start playing the sound of sharpening a dagger with a whetstone.
Yep. Exactly. Just so many things. Yeah, it's great. How cheap is a group of 5 black dragon great worms being on a table? A lot, or oh fuck no. Yeah, absolutely.
Yo, shit knows exactly the energy I was channeling.
Yeah.
I was imagining Classic Sonic.
Oh yeah, Classic Sonic for sure. Why aren't I moving forward? What the fuck?
Yeah. I must be killing. My business is killing, and I must be about my business.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
Are you going to waste my time, or are we going to kill things?
Tapping wrist, looking at you, tapping wrist. Eventually, as 10 minutes goes by, jumps off the screen to kill himself. Love Classic Sonic. He does the good shit. Anyway. But yes. It's a great tool. That, and you can be more overt if you want to be as a DM. If you don't have any NPCs in the scene, you can be like, guys, we've been sitting here for 20 minutes. You haven't come to a decision. Can we please?
Yeah. I remember when I had to be brave enough, I guess, to
yeah.
like cross that line
Yep.
myself as a DM of like, guys, we've sat here for 30 minutes and like I love hanging out with all of you.
Yeah.
It's nothing but a pleasure, I assure you. However, like, let's fucking do something. Let's roll some dice.
Yeah. Exactly. So, as you said, have the bravery. Have that spark if you need it, because it is okay.
A good time to plan is when you are talking about the campaign on the days that you are not playing, and then just saying, "Oh, hey, no, we could do this." Most DMs will kind of hand wave away that metagame knowledge
that is true.
of like, "Oh wow, the character just thought of the best thing to do in this scenario because they're living in this world."
Exactly.
They are putting more thought into what's happening than we could ever.
If Classic Sonic doesn't move for 10 minutes, he jumps off the screen. It might be a meme. I don't remember, but I think he does do something. Hold on.
Yeah, it sounds similar.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Yeah, he does a little spin ball off.
Yeah, something. He removes himself from the situation because he won't go, and you not let him go. Hold on. Let's see. Wait. For. Let me just make sure. A Sonic CD, yes. In Sonic CD, he jumps off the screen. It's great.
I could have sworn I'd seen it.
Yeah, me too. Anyway. It's a long time. I don't remember if it's 10 minutes or not, but it is a thing that happens. Anyway.
And that's because of the way that you set up these combats. By nature, I use milestone leveling, but even if I wasn't, random encounters don't give you XP. These encounters are technically consequences of not doing anything. So I'm not going to reward you because this is actually a consequence. So they're not going to give you any XP. They're going to give little to no treasure. It's important to remember that random encounters are sticks for your players, not carrots. The carrot is the fabulous wealth the boss is going to have. The item they're going after, defeating that big boss is going to give them a level or something, like draws the adventure to its narrative conclusion, narrative fulfillment. That's all the good stuff. That's all the carrot stuff. So these random encounters are more like the stick. This is a reminder that if you linger here, if you screw around in this dangerous area, you're going to have to pay in blood, in spells, in limited character abilities, and you're going to have, at the end of that, you're not going to have anything to show for that effort. You're just going to lose if you stick around in here. So that's, for me, that was like the game changer. I was like, oh, this is punitive. Not in a mean-spirited way, but in a way that's be like, hey, you guys can't be super casual in a dungeon or in orc tribes' territories. If they come across you, that it's going to be a fight, and you're not going to get anything out of that fight except hurt. The other thing that...
Okay, yeah, so if we're talking purely in combative zones, and that's what's happening, I can understand it being done a lot more as a purely combative element. But as we've said many a time, making these random encounters be more than just combative things can also help with when they're in a city or a safe spot or something. Oh, you guys are sitting here talking for a good 20 minutes? Well, and we haven't come to a conclusion? Well, bing, bang, boom, man jumps through the door and says, hey, what are you doing? And then they go, what the fuck? Who are you? And he goes, I'm asking you. And, and then you have a guy who's just, he's like, and then they're like, what? Oh, we're just discussing about doing this thing. And he's like, you come to a conclusion yet? Can I talk?
Cool. Yeah. Are you going to do that though?
Yeah. Are you done?
Are you just going to talk about doing it?
Are you done yet? I got places to be, and I came in here for you.
I've got rats in my basement right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right now. So if you're done with talking about your shit, you got some time for my shit?
Yeah. That I am paying you for?
So yeah, like having something happen. Hell, even having it be an environmental thing of they're doing their discussion and they're getting nowhere, and then they just start to hear bells chiming, like loud bells chiming out in the town, you know? Oh, what the fuck? Something's happening, you know? Just anything to get them to realize, oh, time has gone by.
Yeah. Maybe a storm rolls in while they're standing on the road.
Exactly.
And if they still don't get the hint, have a tree fall nearby.
Right, exactly. It's like, guys, you gotta go. Anything like that, right?
Yeah, then nearby wolves start howling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah. Just broaden the horizons of this idea, because we can broaden the definition of what an encounter is, because it is very broad. So we should be using it as such. Thought it was the first game. Oh yeah, Sonic CD. It's I don't think it is. In the first game you had a flat time limit of 10 minutes to finish each stage. That is true. In all the games on the Genesis. Right. Yes. Yeah, in those games you just died. You just went bah! And died. But in Sonic CD he jumps off the screen after a time. Yeah. It's great.
And random encounters are really great for is to sort of like stretch that content when you need to reach the end of this session. When I talked about sort of like the players, they take a right turn, they're going tangential to whatever you prepared, or they've just done a good job of like going around prescribed encounters, stuff that you've done, and they've been clever, and you don't want to be necessarily punitive, you don't necessarily want to be like force them to like Quantum Ogre, be like, oh well, you have to do this combat encounter because that's what I planned. Instead, I use the random encounters to be like, okay, I just need to sort of play for time. Go up there.
Okay, not as much about that. Because...
Well, that sounds like the point I made earlier of, like, if the players walk due north and I need time to plow...
No. You missed the first part. Because he was talking about how they were creative in getting past something. And then throwing a random encounter. I'll play it again. Maybe I misheard it.
Punished for their success?
Yeah, I'm wondering.
In a dungeon or in orc tribes' territories, if they come across you, that it's going to be a fight, and you're not going to get anything out of that fight except hurt. The other thing that random encounters are really great for is to sort of like stretch that content when you need to reach the end of this session. When I talked about sort of like the players, they take a right turn, they're going tangential to whatever you prepared, or they've just done a good job of like going around prescribed encounters, stuff that you've done, and they've been clever, and you don't want to be necessarily punitive, you don't necessarily want to be like force them to like Quantum Ogre, be like, oh well, you have to do this combat encounter because that's what I planned.
I think
instead I use the random encounters to be like, okay, I just need to.
Okay, yeah.
I think he means truly jobber enemies, where it's just a matter of the players mopping them up.
Well, yeah, I think it's I think the word choice is the problem rather, because I think that he is still on the same track and still agreeable with what he's trying to do with it, in the sense of using it as that stopgap, as we were talking about before. Yeah. It's just that when he said that they were clever about it, basically, it sounded more like, oh, you went past my encounter that I had set up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sort of like a vengeance sort of thing.
Yeah, and which he said not to be petty, and then to then stall for time, I guess. Which, that makes more sense. It's just, I wouldn't use that choice of words, because it gave that implication immediately to me, because I was like, but yeah.
I also really like his terminology of the term prescribed encounters.
Yeah.
I like the verb prescribed there.
Yeah, it is good.
I am giving you encounter, take twice, and then call me in the morning.
Indeed.
Sort of play for time. Go up there and you're just kind of chewing up time because I'm trying to get to the end of the session, because if I get to the end of the session, I can prep for what you guys are doing now, but right now I don't have any prep.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm just trying to sort of like improvise, but not take the improvisations so far down the rabbit trail that things are just crazy and out of sorts. I can either sort of like nudge them back towards
for a random encounter.
Yes, exactly. It's exactly what we were talking about.
If they're off them, or help fill up the time if they've decided to follow this other tangent, and then I can just prep for the tangent at the end of the session, between sessions, for the next time. Useful when they need to be reminded of danger, when they get a little bit too casual or cavalier with kind of like what's going on, where they get a little overconfident of what of everything.
Yes, crush overconfidence. Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah. Squeeze it out of them.
Yeah. The world is it's the overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. Come now.
Yes.
And these are sort of the old OSR ways. These are the old ways, the Gygaxian ways. You are not going to be like Goldilocks. You're going to try to break it.
Dude, I showed some of my coworkers the art that was shared of like the Horus Heresy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What was it? The Garibay Galvanism.
Yes, that's right.
Into somebody's house and eat their food and take a nap there and steal their stuff. They're likely going to find you. They are going to interrupt your rest. They're going to raise the alarm. They're going to call for backup. You're going to have to do a bunch of fights. Most recently, this has kind of become to, at least for people who are new to the hobby, kind of become to known as sort of like the Matt Colville screw. But really, it's just the monsters reacting to an invader in their safe haven.
Yes.
Right? They're just reacting to a home invader who's there stealing their stuff and taking...
Now, obviously, if they do it in a covert way that they have planned and they are prepped for, and they, continue to make those choices, you then, instead of having it be like a 40% chance that they might find something, you then put it down a little bit, because they should be rewarded for those kinds of things, right? And I think that's something that he would agree with. It's just, I just want to throw that out there if that's not said. Hopefully it is. Although I don't know, I mean, we have 7 more minutes of this. I don't know if he's going to go into the creating his own tables. I really hope so. That's also something that I'm waiting for.
Quick heads up, by the way. I had to do an emergency run to the store because I found out I was out of spinach, which I needed for a soup. After this video is over, I'm going to have to duck out.
That's fair. Honestly, we might just do this only this video for tonight, because it's actually been pretty decent for points and everything, and I don't mind not doing
discussion.
Yeah, I think we can save the dungeon video for next time for sure.
All right.
Taking their supplies and sleeping overnight in their home. Like a weirdos, because they think they can get away with that for some reason. They can take an 8-hour break in the middle of a dungeon delve. It's wild when you kind of extrapolate it and think about it. It's like, oh yeah, I think I'll just imagine if you were gonna do, let's say, a bank heist or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna break in here, we're gonna open up the vault, and then we're just gonna take a quick 8-hour nap, and then we'll finish the bank heist. And be like, well, no, that's probably not gonna work out well. Somebody's gonna find you there. There's gonna be some consequences for that. It's also important to know.
Dude, I remember in the first campaign that I DM'd.
Yeah.
I'm big on dungeons that are active work sites for say cultists.
Oh yeah.
And I had the party going through a hollowed out cliff face that was basically a lab for some cultists. And they were doing some weird necromancy shit.
Hell yeah.
It was fantastic. But the party resources were pretty well wiped.
Yeah.
And they got 85% of the way through the dungeon.
Yep.
Before they decided, all right, guys, I need to take a rest. So they barricaded themselves in a room, they set up multiple layers of security to make ingress into their resting spot really difficult. And I gave them the rest, but then I said, all right, guys, So you've given them 8 hours to respond to the fact that there is a threat. They have called reinforcements. And they have also barricaded you.
Yeah.
So you're going to be dealing with shit now.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they're like, okay, and like they lost so many fucking resources.
Oh, I bet.
Just like walking down a hallway would like
Yeah.
at least one person would lose 20 hit points.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Like it was fucking bad.
Yeah.
I punished them for it so bad, and I was like, I have no regrets about what I
Oh
did.
no, it makes total sense. Absolutely. Yeah. There's
Like, it got to the point where I was like, you may have been better off just trying to squeeze out the final 15%.
exactly. I
They're
mean,
like, oh, we'll take another rest. There's only so many cultists. And I was like, oh, well, you do have me there.
that is, yes, that is true. You could, it is a war of attrition at that point. You're right. Also makes sense. Why not? Oh, that's great.
You know what? If they had taken a second rest, I probably would have just given them the rest of the dungeon.
Yeah, honestly, at that point, the other people would have been like, well, we're gonna go.
There's only so many bodies that used to work here.
Yes, exactly. The party enters a swamp ogre. Get out of my swamp. Indeed.
Get out of my swamp.
Imagine taking an 8-hour rest in a UFO in XCOM. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nope. Not happening. Thank you. And I'm thinking classic XCOM, which is even worse in terms of deadliness.
Never actually played XCOM.
That's fair.
I absolutely love Ahoy's video on XCOM.
Oh, yeah. Ahoy's great.
But, dude, I love him.
Mm-hmm.
That random monsters and wandering monsters don't have to be combats. More than just scaring them off, you can actually use them to help the players in the party if you need to. That'd be a good way to sort of like give the party a way to a neutral NPC that they can trade with, because the people they run across might be just like a neutral party. A way to sort of gain information about what's going on. Just have a quick conversation, do some social checks, some RP, deliver new adventure hooks, earn the party an ally. Like, there are other things you could do. They don't necessarily have to be always combat.
Woo! He said the thing!
He said it!
He said the thing!
Say the words, Red Dragon Feet!
It doesn't always have to be combat. Yay! I will say, it's a bit far in. So I would love for this, because not gonna, like, not for nothing, I think it's a great video. I don't know how many people got to this point. I really hope a lot of people did get to this point. But I think it would be better structured to be closer to the beginning, because then you can even tease it along the way, right? And be like, oh, yeah, we're going to talk about combat stuff because this is the known thing. This is what people think of as random encounters. Combat. But you can do more than just combat, and we'll get into that later. There you go.
Man, I love this channel.
Yeah, this is great. We got there. Woo! Exactly.
I would love to have them on the show someday.
Yeah, honestly. Seems good.
And always have to be a bad thing. Usually they are, right? Usually they're punitive. They're meant to be penalizing, but they don't always have to be. How do we do random encounters or wandering monsters? So for me, if it's in a dungeon, I do the one.
Oh, maybe we get the table. Oh God, if we get everything, I'm gonna be so happy.
26 method. That's the straight way that it's done in the OSR. It works pretty well. There's a 1 in 6 chance that a random encounter is going to happen, but it kind of leaves them that pressure. And usually just the DM picking up the die and rolling the die is enough for the players to get on their horse. So usually don't even have to throw the encounter at them. It's just the looming threat of an encounter that is going to do nothing but waste their resources is usually enough to get players moving. It's also useful to do like a telegraph, sort of like a warning shot, right? Versus passive perception or stealth groups, checks for groups that sort of run into each other to see, like, does somebody get surprised by somebody? Does somebody clock the other group and get an advantage over them, whether that's they want to ambush them or maybe they want to avoid the fight completely. It still kind of gives a little wibbly wobbly aspect to random encounters, so it's not always, if you have somebody in the back who is paying attention, who is alert while they're everybody else is searching the room, and you have one person who's standing guard by the door, like looking down the passage, trying to make sure you don't get ambushed. That's the person who's going to pick up wandering monsters coming by, and then they can like get everybody to be quiet and everybody can hide. And
yeah. Take into account the situation at hand to make it so that the encounter fits better. That's great. That's a good piece of advice for sure, because, you know, if somebody is taking that role, then they should be rewarded for taking that role instead of being one of the people that is like, oh, I hope there's treasure around here, whoa, because they're being that responsible person in that situation, right? And then it encourages the further usage of that talent / it enforces in the minds of the players that that's a useful thing to do. And again, gives you that tone that you're kind of looking for of, yeah, things could happen, and guess what? If you prepare for them, whoa, you get a thing. You get a more of an advantage. That's great. Thank you for continuing to make good points. Fuck.
Right?
And then maybe you can avoid that encounter. Usually that's enough to trigger people to be like, okay, we should probably move on. Sometimes they don't, and sometimes you're like, all right, well, I guess I'll just keep rolling for encounters then. So I usually roll a d6 if it's like in a dungeon sort of situation. If you watch the solo RPG streams that I do, you'll notice that I usually roll a d12 when I'm doing a hex crawl. On a 1 on the d12, it's the same thing. It's still a 1 in 6 chance. It's just a 1 in 6 chance of a random encounter, and then a 1 in 6 chance of basically a dressing or some sort of like non-combat encounter, which I have a number of those things sort of in my DM's binder, kind of broken up.
Aha! DM's binder. Yes, there we go. We have things. We have the confirmation of custom creation. Very good. We assumed. We were right to assume.
Biomes. It might be a place where they meet some other sort of like non-combat sort of encounters, where they meet some sort of other travelers, things of that nature. Let's see, pitfalls to sort of avoid with that. They just cause random encounters. That's the thing why random encounters have the bad name. So don't just be like, just cause. I know I say that right after I just talked about sort of overland travel and how I'm doing a hex crawl. But it's important to remember that random encounters are sort of like part of the play style of hex crawl. In a hex crawl, it's all about discovery. You were literally learning about the world by traveling across it. So every time that you come across a random encounter, it gives you an idea of like, hey, here are denizens that are in this area. Oh, I didn't know there were gnolls in this place. Now I know there are gnolls in this place. Okay, maybe we should prepare something like, make sure that we have something like tongues or comprehend language so that way we can talk to them in the future.
Even giving that little bit for the hex crawl aspect of it is great for just saying, oh, yeah, this isn't just cuz still, even though I am talking about something that feels that way. He's going into depth and saying, oh, no, that's kind of the purpose, and also it makes it so that you have more of that world fleshed out. Good.
Yes, I agree with your point. I have nothing to comment or nothing to add to that point.
Yes.
I also just wanted to throw out I noticed the ambiance that he's been playing like probably like a minute and a half into the video, and I considered calling out that I really enjoyed it then, but I've noticed it a couple times since then, and now is like the 4th time. This is really good ambiance. I wish I knew what it was called.
Yeah. Maybe it's in the description. Hang on. I got you, potentially. Where's my mouse? Where's my mouse?
Thank you, potentially.
Let's see. Come on. Thank you. Go here. Look at... what is this called? Ow. There we go.
So,
Loud. Oh, he's got Kofi and a drive-through RPG thing. Oh, very good.
Consider showing him some love.
Indeed. Absolutely go and subscribe for sure. Even the thing for the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. There we go. Nice. I don't see anything about the music. Audio selections from Tabletop Audio. Damn, don't have names, but it's from Tabletop Audio.
Yeah. Well, it gives me somewhere to start my search.
Exactly.
That's all I need.
Yep. Cool.
If they don't speak common, do we need to bring something? What do gnolls like? We can maybe open up some sort of barter or trade with them if we can figure out, the sort of things they're interested in getting, and we can give them those.
Yeah.
I don't mean as an adventurer to get all pearl clutchy, but
do they have things that we would really need? I mean, they are gnolls.
Do they even have an internal experience? And if they did, wouldn't they use it for mean thoughts?
Sorts of things, and they can give us some more information about what's going on in the area. Again, they don't. Those random encounters don't have to be combat encounters, especially in a hex crawl setting. That those are often, you might parlay, you might talk about things. I remember playing in a game a while ago. We were playing sort of like OSE, Old School Essentials. One of the things that was really cool is that we had an entire random encounter with a group of hobgoblins.
Oh, OSE is Old School Essentials, and OSR must be Old School Rules, or rule set.
Revival.
Oh, is it Revival?
Yeah, well, that's what I learned it as.
Oh, okay. We were talking about this a while back, I think, so it's just... I'm glad that there's a clarification. XCOM reminds me, I want there to be a game that plays like XCOM, but you're defending medieval England from Vikings. Can I be a Viking in that? Well, so, if you want to do there's two games that I would recommend to you if you want to be a Viking in that kind of XCOM style, or if you want to be part of the Roman Empire in that XCOM style. It is Expeditions Viking and Expeditions Rome. Both are XCOM style, but with character stuff and everything. And from the stuff that I played in Vikings, it's pretty good. So look into Expeditions, Rome and Vikings if you want something XCOM-y with those themes. Anyway.
Where we did like Indian leg wrestling, and we shared some wine, and they kind of told us some points of interest in the area and for us to check out, and we kind of told them some information, and it turned what could have been just like a straight normal fight in an open field into just this kind of cool RP moment where we got to know them, learned a little bit about them, got some more information about the area, about things to check out and things to avoid. If you think about random encounters in that way too, especially in the overworld sort of setting when you're just kind of traveling around in that exploration mode, they don't necessarily have to be these straightforward combat encounters. Though that is usually what's going to happen in a dungeon, because again, if we flip the script on dungeons, player characters are basically home invaders. So think of it that way. Yeah. You're not going to have a casual tea and conversation with somebody who's invading your home. You're not going to invite them in for a slice of cake. You're going to be like, get the hell out of my house. It's a slightly different. That's
especially if they invade your home and then they like barricade themselves into the upstairs bathroom and then stay there for 8 hours.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, 100%. Yes,
pretty much everything I have to say about random.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Banner Saga is also a good Norse vibes and strategy game for sure. Yes, from the little bit that I played of that as well. It's super good. Anyway.
Hope that's super useful for you guys. That it's something you should definitely try. Incorporate into your games in a more thoughtful way. Maybe you've used random encounters before and that just straight random. So try to be a little bit more thoughtful about that approach, especially in that sort of dungeon way. And recognize it as a way to sort of like add pressure onto the group to always push them with tension and always kind of keep them moving forward. So you ratchet up the tension and the cadence of the game when they're in that sort of dangerous area, so it has that sort of feeling of danger at the table. Let me know about your experiences. If you want to support the channel, of course I have a Drive-Thru RPG store with pay what you want titles. If you want to do that, Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com. They're linked below in the description. You can find them. Tell me about your experiences. If you have any other tips or tricks or fun stuff like this to add to your games, definitely leave them in the comments below. I want to check them out, and I'm sure other people want to have those good ideas too. But that's going to be it for me, guys. I've had a ton of fun, and I will see you guys next time. All right, bye.
Fantastic video as before.
Happy.
Two out of 2 home runs.
Very true. Good shit. Good job, Red Ragged Fiend. You did it.
Good job.
You did it. All right.
All right.
Oh, I see. Okay, now I can see the actual thumbnail because the video's over.
Oh, yes.
Okay, yeah. So the R does the same. So it's that style of whatever that font is. I see.
I freaking hate that font.
Yeah, I don't like it either. That C is jutting out. Not happy about that. But that's fine. It's just the font. You know what? Can't all be home runs.
It can't all be home runs. Ragged Fiend, you make some really good content. Yeah. You could up your thumbnail game.
Oh, don't listen to us about that. My thumbnails that I've made are shit and horrible. I'm only proud of the one thumbnail.
The one that I've made, I'm pretty proud of.
That's right. That one the Cyberpunk one. That's right.
Yeah, for the Cyberpunk one.
Do better.
Jesus. Fuck.
Awful. Love it. But no,
I mean, your content is just 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Your thumbnails, ooh. Are decimals a thing?
All right. Okay. Anyway. All right. Yeah. I think that's a good point to stop because the other video is like 20 minutes, so it's just gonna be this one. But of course, I will give you the leave that you require. Of course.
Yes, I must go make chicken gnocchi soup.
Ooh, yummy.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't have on hand was tomato paste, so I left to go to the store to get tomato paste today. And when I got home, I started putting all of my me's in their various places. And I realized I didn't have spinach, and I was like, God damn it. I'm going to go make soup now.
Okay, have fun.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right, everybody. There we go. Yeah, put them on your wish list. They go on sale pretty often, and they get pretty low in price because they're pretty old at this point, those games. So go for it. But yeah, good video. Glad. I'll change the title and everything when I put the VOD up so that it's not about the thing, the stuff. You know, I can't say words. Anyway. So it's about just this, because it's pretty good, and I think that it's a good thing to have gone through, and plus it just means that I have the thing for next time, and I can get a second video to accompany that if it shouldn't take so long. We've let the world end again. Sorry, really dropping the ball here. Well, I mean, you did create a world yourself, so really, are you just letting that one end, or are you letting this one end? That's the question, really. Anyway. Let's move on to comments, everybody. Comment time. Comment. Also, again, I want to say Red Ragged Fiend is the channel. The link is in the description to the video. Go check out the content. See if you like it. It's pretty decent, honestly, from what we've gone through. So please let us know if there's anything else, because it's good for discussion for sure. At least from what we have seen. So yeah. Letting this one end. Damn it. Okay. Anyway, time for comments. So, first up, we've got Timothy on last week's episode saying, "Hello, bros. Hello. New lore. The Log of Alabaster, entry 35. I sat at the front of the wagon with Galvin. We took the night shift driving the horses. I was surprised Galvin stayed up since he had been up for over 17 hours, but I was glad for the company, oh my god. When I looked behind us, I saw Veronica and Cornell sleeping curled up under a big velvet blanket. Excuse me. Massimo had fallen asleep upside down with his head on the floor. Star Ruby was sleeping, sitting up, leaning on his walking stick. Moving my gaze to Galvin, he sat slumped with his feet up on the front of the wagon. A half-empty wine bottle in his hands. Clutching it like a teddy bear. His eyes fluttering, trying to keep them open. I had a feeling he was going to lose that battle soon. Leroy, feel free to go inside and sleep if you want. I can handle things until the sun comes up. Galvin, nah, I can go a bit longer. You shouldn't have to sit here alone, he said, taking another drink from the bottle. It's either sleep back there or pass out up here, and I'll have to keep you from falling off the seat. Haha, give me another hour, and then I'll have to keep you from falling off that seat. Oh, sorry. Give me another hour, then I will go wake Massimo to sit with you. He should have enough rest by then. I might have to shake him pretty hard. Vampires sleep like rocks. Are tabaxis great at staying up for a long time after 3 mugs of ale and 1.5 bottles of wine? A human would have blacked out by now. Gelman. Not all of them, but my uncle was pretty good at it. He was a fun person. He was the one that told me to always be myself no matter what anyone thinks. What happened to him? Nothing too interesting, just died of old age. If he did magic, would he still be alive? I could tell Galvin was trying to hold back tears. Leroy. It depends. If one gets good at it, it can make your lifespan longer, but certain spells and potions do a better job. Results vary a lot. The moonlight came out from the clouds, bouncing off the tears rolling down Galvin's face. I handed him a rag to wipe them with. This was the first time that I saw him cry. It made me wonder how much he had been holding back this whole time. What was different? He was drunk in front of me before. Maybe the lack of sleep on top of that, perhaps. Galvin. So, I wonder what the Moon Valley is like. Leroy. Like most other kingdoms, I suppose. We're heading into a battle when we get there. Checking the sites will have to wait. Yeah, it sucks that happened behind Cornell and Veronica's backs like that. Not sure how helpful I will be with that. I could smack somebody with this bottle. As long as you stay close to the party, you should be fine. Good point. I have the big pink wrecking machine to hide behind. I still can't believe he almost took out a whole block of Moorworth. The dragons are truly amazing beings. I wonder when you'll get to be an uncle yourself to a cute little pink half-dragon baby. It's just a matter of time. Leroy. Not sure. I never really thought about that. Galvin yawned loudly and finished the rest of the wine in one chug. Well, I guess it's time to get some shut-eye. Let me go wake the cute bloodsucker up. Hey, Massimo, you need to keep Leroy company. Hey, I got it. Galvin then picked up a bottle of fire venom and waved it under the vampire's nose like smelling salts. Massimo's eyes soon opened. Massimo. Huh? Did something happen? Galvin. Nothing yet. Can you tag in and help Leroy keep watch? Massimo. Sure, I can do that. The tired tabaxi crawled into a small bed, falling asleep face down, as Massimo came through to the front to sit next to me, taking a gulp of fire venom, as we continued forward through the night. That's all I got. Have a nice day. Thank you. I hate these automated things. I can't. Okay, well, I have done. Okay, that works. Anyway, thank you for the comment. Appreciate it. Wouldn't worry too much about it. This world ends all the time. True. Dying and being reborn is just kind of one of those things nature does, I guess. True. That and spinning. Nature likes to spin. That's also true. Then we have Rico. Hell yeah, Veilfisk. Easily my favorite torture friends by terrible video game ideas YouTubers. Yes, true. Good. If I recall, it was Blackadder that made War funny. Can't say I've seen the whole show, but I've seen the final scene a few times, and it still hits like a fucking truck. I need to rewatch Blackadder. It's been a hot minute. But yeah, Blackadder is pretty funny for what it does. Christmas Truce is a fascinating story for sure. If I recall correctly, soldiers in opposing trenches would also send each other messages about upcoming artillery barrages, so they could take cover. And there's one story where the Germans gassed a fortress and the Russian defenders charge out while they were literally coughing their lungs out. Not wholesome at all, but definitely could be inspiration for a TTRPG. True. A lot of the video does focus on more modern conflicts, though, for D&D in particular. I think early modern conflicts like the 30 Years' War are a lot more appropriate to look at, in my opinion. Though I suppose magic would change warfare a lot. Yes. Also, sad to say my joke was not a Great Escape reference, it's just that World War II German soldiers would steal bicycles, so we keep asking Germans to give back our grandparents' bikes. That's amazing. I had no idea. I'll make sure to let Boo know. Very funny. Anyway, that's comments. Thank you all for your comments. Appreciate it, of course. And thank you for joining us for the evening. Try to put a bit more emotion in that lore. Fair enough. So yeah, thank you all for joining us for the evening. Really appreciate it. Hope that you continue to enjoy. And of course, if you wish to support us further, well, first off, you do have the option to subscribe and all of that. You know the YouTube drill, all of the stuff. But we also have in the description, you can find it, as well as if you go on Patreon, patreon.com/TableTalk Crew, as well as Ko-fi.com or Ko-fi.com/TableTalk Crew. We've got, I actually have the audio versions and new video version of Sunrise and Sin City for Session 4 that is up there for you to watch if you are a part of the patronage, or if you're a member through Ko-fi, if you're a table flipper. That being said, for as little as $1 a month, you can become one of these lovely people, just like one of these lovely people. You can't become them. I'm sorry, that's a slip of the tongue. No one can turn into somebody else, necessarily. But I can't tell you what to do, of course, because I'm not your dad. Anyway, thank you goes out to Draco Kraken, Rick, aka Unit Rico, and Steely for being at Tier 4 for so long. We appreciate you immensely. Thank you so much. And of course, a thank you goes to Crimson Rose for being in Tier 2. Thank you very much, of course. And a thank you goes out to our Tier 1 contributors. If you want to join, you can, for as little as $1 a month, like I said. And you can always, you get the same membership bonuses from Ko-fi or from Patreon. So do whatever you want in that case. Otherwise, you can also go to the TableTalk discussion & Discourse TeePublic page and get whatever you want on whatever you want there. So go for it if you wish. And of course, you can go over to our website, link in the description, tabletalkd&d.us, and go and look through all of this to see all the things that I've talked about and will talk about. I still haven't fixed that. Fuck me. And get our custom dice if you wish through a little PayPal purchase to give me the info that I need so that we can send you some dice if you wish. Or you can, of course, join in the Garabingo streams, which we are going to have a Garabingo stream nearer to the end of the month, everybody. And at that point as well, I'll be doing some drawings for the 3 winners that we had then that were passes. So probably around the 28th is when we're planning on doing that Garabingo stream, because that's closer to the Crimbo times as well as the New Year times. So we'll be right around that area. So get excited. And of course, you could win one of these during that, as well as during the drawings and such, in our Discord. So join our Discord. It's free. Anyway, last but not least, we have a link in the description that helps support us through purchases through Humble Bundle. If you wish to use our link in the description to go and buy whatever you want through Humble Bundle, whether it be bundles or whether it be on the store or whatever you wish. There's a Metroidvania Encore Mania pack, excuse me. That's pretty cool looking. Axiom Verge 2. Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. What is this? What do we got here? What? Oh, this is bundles. Wait, what? Huh? Oh, it's over? Oh, okay. Never mind. I guess that... Oh, a bit. I can't read. Okay, cool. Let's see what we got for books. Why is that still on the page, then? I don't know. They're changing things at Humble, so I don't know what's going on. Let's see what's going on right now. The Pathfinder bundle is still there, and this Free League RPG Mega Bundle is still there for another few days. By the time this goes up, it'll have like 2 days left, I think, or 3, or 1 day maybe. But yeah, there's that stuff. You know, you've got your game bundles here, of course, that you can go for. Wholesome games if you wish. And some software stuff too, I think, here. Unreal bundle. Ooh, there you go. Could be an Unreal game developer if you wish. Yeah, a bunch of Unreal stuff. Well, this one's gonna be gone. But Humble Bundle has a lot of good stuff, and of course the Choice and the store itself have their own things. Let's find out what's on the Choice today. I mean, this month. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is, I think this is a spiritual successor to, yeah, I think this is a spiritual successor to, what's it called? Oh god, what? It's the skating game where it's funky and cool, and I can't remember what it is, and I own it, and it's really, Jet Set Radio. I think that's a spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio. I think. Yes, it is. I think. We got some other stuff here. Old World, I don't know it. Atlas Fallen, Reign of Sand, I don't know it. Crime Boss, I don't know it. The Invincible, that looks familiar to me. It's not what I'm thinking of. Moonstone Island. Inculinati? That's interesting. Vinba. Monster Road Trip, hey! Monster Prom 3. Cool. I only have 1. So, I'm going to be missing out on some stuff. Learn to code? Okay. Boot dev. Oh, I think that's like a free trial for a month or something. But anyway, that's another thing that you could get. All that kind of stuff. Whatever. If you wish. It's in the description. Otherwise, we enjoy your support by watching the streams, watching the VODs, watching the content, and hanging out with us, of course. So thank you very much. Yeah, that's it. That's it. We'll see if I do an editing stream tomorrow. I'm hoping to, but my cats are getting mad at me for spending a lot of time in my room today. So we shall see how I feel as well, because I can feel my voice dying. I didn't have enough honey this week, and I should have more. But anyway, I might do it for a few hours tomorrow. We shall see. But anyway, I think that's it at the moment. I'm gonna try to get Vampire Session 5 up for the lovely, lovely table flippers, of course, for the early access. It's coming. It's coming soon. And this will come out on Monday, as usual. So, thank you everybody again for hanging out. Hope you have a good rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you should watch this. And I hope that your month has been going well so far. It's been going too fast this time for me. We're almost through the month. Holy God. We're almost through the year, honestly. It feels like March was like not too long ago, but it's been months, man. It's crazy. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me. Thank you again for hanging out and watching. And we'll see ya next week. Goodbye. Bye-bye.